welcome to episode 24 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills and I'm joined as always by Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week, we looked at our first batch of games from issue 12 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with. And we were bored by Back to the Future, suffered gangrene with Jerry the Germ, and felt the heavy hand of capitalism on our back in Comic Bakery. In episode 24, which covers the cold and rather wet month of April 1986, we're going to be concluding our look at the games from that issue, along with what was going on at the cinema and on TV that month. Graham, tell us exactly what we have to look forward to in this episode.
In this deep-filled meat pie of an episode, we strap on a jetpack and go caving with phantoms of the asteroid. We debate the relative merits of baguette-wielding gnomes with Time Tunnel and pull off 30 kung fu moves a second with Yie-Ar Kung-Fu. The barely pronounceable Nonterraqueous pops in to baffle our brains while we wait ages to see who is playing who in FA Cup football and debate the Geronticide potential of the mood-hoovering adventures of Basil the Bond. Luckily for us, the Master of Magic appears from around a corner and happily shines a light right in Basil the Bond's eyes. He's an excitable young chap, that Master of Magic, but that better be a banana in his pocket.
Awesome. Let's move things along, though, and take a look at our first game, which is Phantoms of the Asteroid. Graham, what's Phantoms of the Asteroid all about?
The Earth is being menaced by an asteroid impact. Prepare yourself.
I felt like that earlier on when I went to the toilet.
I felt like that 2 minutes ago after cleaning up my dog's enormous gargantuan turd. Anyway, the things we do between podcasts. So the Earth is being menaced by an imminent asteroid. Think Deep Impact. Kind of the same kind of thing. To prevent that, you are plunged into the depths of the asteroid. You've got to gather up the uranium cubes, I think they are, or you've got to gather up the, I forget how many there is now, a certain number of cubes, and then escape out of the asteroid before it explodes, so it's thereby saving the Earth. So the Phantom of the Asteroid is essentially a side-scrolling maze game. You've got a jetpack, you've got fuel deposits to pick up, you've got to sort of go around the labyrinth, trying to find the various uranium cubes. Felt a little bit, the premise of it feels oddly familiar because it's the same as millions of other games of this type. So, and the numerous enemies. The enemies are called phantoms, so hence the Phantoms of the Asteroid part. And you've got a sort of an energy level which you've got to sort of make sure that you don't deplete. There's traps and insta-kills in this game. I don't like insta-kills in games myself, but there are some of those. And you've only got a single life to complete the game, therefore rendering this game impossible. But there you go. So, the main goal is to find those things. And should you find them all, I think you've got a time limit to escape. I never got that far, but I believe there's a time limit to get out before it's all over.
No one ever gets that far. No one's ever going to get this.
So this is $1.99. That's a lot of game description for $1.99. And my feeling was this. This is a big map, lots of things to do, and it's the usual stuff of this type. For the cheap money at $1.99, this isn't bad. This isn't a bad version. My version of this felt a little bit slow, and I don't know if that's an error in emulation or whether it is just running a little bit slow, but I never played it on the original Commodore 64, so I couldn't tell you.
I think it is a slow game.
So it felt slow, which hindered its kind of franticness, because the game music makes it feel more frantic than it is.
I think it's supposed to be you're in 0G, aren't you? So
right. So, but it still felt a little bit like the music was outpacing the. I mean, it's good music.
Probably.
It's another Rob Hubbard soundtrack. It's good Rob Hubbard, not bad. Not one of his longest pieces, not one of his greatest, but it's quite good for this game. Mm-hmm. So, but this felt a bit like we'd played a game similar to this, which I think was Rocket Roger. So,
yes.
Rocket Roger is very similar to this, but although this was $1.99, and I don't remember Rocket Roger being $1.99. So, I suppose the question is it playable? Yes. Is it enjoyable if you like these kind of games? For $1.99 though, it wasn't bad value for money for what you get. You're getting a lot of game for your money here. It's okay. It's above average for this type of game. I just thought that, you know what? Is it me? But these super difficult games I don't last long on them. One, because I don't play them well, because I'm too old to get the reflexes needed to be able to twitch speed my way out of this. Not that this one relies on that. But I just found this game really, really, really overly hard. And I find that sort of idea a bit frustrating. So I found it has that classic, the usual level designs, the usual stuff, a big map, but near impossibility. If that's your bag, you're going to dig Phantoms of the Asteroid, and for $1.99 and at 73% in Zap, it's not a bad old game for the money. I played it for a bit. I quite like the music. It's okay. Yeah, I didn't hate it, that's for sure. Yeah, I've played a lot worse than this, but I think I've played it before in like a million other games. So the Hubbard soundtrack really was the swinger here for me. But what about you?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much on the same page. It's not just side scrolling, is it? It's vertical. It's a sort of 360 degree scrolling, so you can move up and down, and that's quite nice. That it moves away from that flick screen nonsense. Because to me, this felt like somewhere in the middle of Rocket Roger and that Hero of the Golden Talisman. So it has that sort of size and look and a bit of a feel of the whole Hero of the Golden Talisman and its greyness. But obviously it plays more like Rocket Roger because it's thrust-like. You have a thruster that you used to need to balance yourself and move yourself along and all that. So it's like that. I prefer this to Rocket Roger for a few reasons. I don't die when I land on an incline. That's always a bonus. Rocket Roger was the most explosive man in history, and I'm not.
Yep.
The title music is great. It is a really good Rob Hubbard piece. I really do like the piece in this. I do, like you said, it does feel a bit slow. It does take ages to turn, but I don't know if they're trying to. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that it's supposed to be in 0G, so it feels, a bit of weight and inertia and heft to it. Although I did notice that it's a bit simple to look at, and I thought that the spacesuit seemed a bit of a tight fit. It looks like he fills that spacesuit quite amply. Our hero who's gone up to who's killed all the phantoms. I was wondering if this was Bruce Willis in Armageddon. But a later Bruce Willis, further down his career line. Yeah. So when he's become a bit more rotund, and so he's now, that spacesuit, what he's got a strap on is it's a bit of a tight fit around the chest.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking here. So maybe that's what they were aiming for, back in 1986. Probably not, but you never know. It's better than both, as I said, better than both Golden Talisman and Rocket Roger. The death tune is awful.
Yeah, not great.
And it takes so long, and you can't skip it. When I first died, I was like, all right, press fire button, press, God damn it, this goes on forever. Start again, think, okay, do those spikes, the spikes kill me? Okay, death tune. It is so annoying because I don't like games that mix. There's another game we'll play in a bit. We'll come to it a bit later on in this episode. It does the same thing. I don't like games that mix their damage. I don't know what the word is, sort of thing, but either have me having energy and taking damage and an energy bar depletes, or have one hit kills but give me lives.
Yeah.
Don't mix them.
Yeah.
Don't have an energy bar that will deplete if, like, the phantoms hit me, but if I hit a spike, I'm instantly dead and it's game over.
Yeah.
That annoys the crap out of me. It really does bug me because it seems a mix of two styles that don't fit together. I've either got health, and so if I hit something that's gonna, a spike, that does damage. All right, I know not to hit it, but that teaches the player, don't hit the spikes. You've been penalised, don't hit them. But it's not punishing them punitively. This punishes you punitively, and then it's game over. If you're gonna instant death me, as like you said, give me some lives, so to make me learn. Otherwise, can you imagine what would happen if you were like 98% of the way through this and you hit a spike? Imagine how annoyed you would feel.
Oh God, yeah.
You'd be just apoplectic with rage. So that's the thing that dragged this down for me. I think 73% with the price. Yeah, there's a lot of game here, and if you can get around those things, it's the also going through those laser beam gateway doors, whatever, instant death. Oh, for God's sake, just bounce me out of them or something, or damage me with a bit of energy. Penalise me, but don't destroy me. It's annoying.
Yeah.
I think if you like these hunt around, I didn't know what the blue thing was at first until I realised it was like that little worm popping up until it refills your oxygen. These things that are in the game are quite nice. There's some quite nice some systems on go because you've got energy. What have you got? Energy, oxygen, and fuel, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
So you've got to refill them and you've got to find the energy point. So you'll find one. So then progression, you'll push on a bit, but you might need to then head back and refill up on something, on one or the other. But having three of them and having all different things in different parts of the caves, that's a proper balancing act. This is a tough old game, but I think, like you said, for £2, you're going to cut it a bit of slack. And I think there's a lot of game here. It does control well. It's a bit slow. The phantoms are a bit rubbish. Those sprites seem weirdly out of place.
Yeah, that's true. They do.
They don't seem like phantoms to me. They're more like googly-eyed googlies. Yeah. I don't know what you call them, but they don't look like phantoms.
No,
I'm not sure what you'd call them. It's okay. It's I can't get angry about it, but if they sorted out that death mechanic, this would be a much better game. Much. It's that puts you off because it doesn't entice you to keep coming back to it.
No, it doesn't.
It's annoying. But for £2, they're a hell of a lot worse out there. Even for £8, they're a lot worse.
That's very true.
Yeah,
you're playing Jerry the Term for much more money.
Oh God, yeah. What was that? £8.
Yes.
Remember, that's 4 kickstarts on our kickstart ratio.
It is 4 kickstarts, and it's certainly not. be way more than 4 times worse.
Oh, it's awful, wasn't it?
Awful.
So yeah, for £2, I think you could do a lot worse than this. I think and it's better. Like I said, it's better than Rocket Roger, and if you like this kind of gravitar thrust style control system in it, it's that
I quite like the controls,
inertia based. Yeah, it feels nice. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I can't get angry about it. I can't get thinking. Just wish it had a better death system. You got anything else to say?
No. I agree with everything you've said. I think it's saving grace is its soundtrack.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's the one thing that makes it just it's the thing that elevates it a little bit above the game of this type. So it does make it a little bit better. But you're right. That death mechanic is kind of what drove me out of this game. And it's a game that I could have got into had it not been for that. So shame, great shame.
Yeah. It is. All right. So, Phantom of the Asteroid, if you can stomach that death mechanic or maybe just put on Infinite Lives or something, probably enjoy it. Okay, up next. What we got next? Let's have a look. We have, this one. This is... There's such an eclectic bunch of games this month. All right. Time Tunnel. Okay. You are a time-traveling gnome.
You are.
Like a proper gnome. Like a real gnome. Like a gnome from your garden. Like a gnome. You are a gnome. You have a hat and everything.
You're a gnome in a stately home.
Yeah, a gnome in a stately home. And you can fire lightning bolts at 45-degree angles up and down, left or right, but not up and not side to side. It's just at 45-degree angles.
Only 45 degrees.
Okay, so what the hell is Time Tunnel? Well, Time Tunnel is a game where you play a gnome and you have to you can travel through time from your stately home to different parts of time. You can go very far into the future, you can go very far into the past, and things in between. You have a series of flick screens where you go through, where you can open doors, but you can only go through doors that are at the top of the screen.
Oh, don't get me started on that annoying thing.
You can't go back through a door you came into if that door happens to now put you in a room to the side. You have to go loop. It's very peculiar. I don't know what, but in some of those levels you can do that, but not in your stately home. Your stately home has one-way doors. One-way doors. So the first part of this game sees you wandering your stately home. There's you have an ability to store things in a cosmic locker of some description if you hold down your fire button. And it transports you to this cosmic locker where you can drop objects, which then you can use those objects through any time zone. So I presume, I didn't get this far, but I presume as you move back and forth between the time zones, you will pick up objects in other time zones to use in other ones to solve puzzles and so on and so on and so forth. That is where this game is at. To start off with, if you're listening to this and you want to play it, I'll give you the opening. You find a bit of a log, go put that in your fireplace and shoot it. That allows you to light a torch, which then does something which allows you to get the second part of your teleporter up and running. You can then teleport from space. You've got 2 doors in the second room where one of them leads you to a text bit of text where you can press the fire button to change which year you want to travel to. You've got, I think it's about 8. Is there 8? About 8 or 9? Something like that.
About 6, 7, 8, yeah.
6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's about 8. And they range from very, very far back in the past, 9,600 BC to I think 3,456 in the future. I don't know.
To 9999, the year 9999.
Oh, in the future, can you go all the way forward to that? Yeah, I never went to that one.
Yeah.
And then you go to your time machine and you travel there. The weirdest thing about one of the many, actually not the weirdest thing, one of the many weird things about this, apart from being a gnome that fires lightning bolts, is the variety of music in the different zones. 9,600 BC has Waltzing Matilda playing, I believe. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
Ancient Greece has Swing Low, Sweet Charity. 3456, I was confused at first until it went into Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't think I went any other places. I think the only 3 I went to. But, so it's just a weird... It's such a weird game. There's no title screen. The game just starts. And I remember playing this back when this first came out many years ago, 30-odd years ago. And I remember being confused at that then. I think I ended up going to Salem as well, 1646 or whatever. I couldn't tell what the music was there. I ended up shooting a bat there after I'd been to the future. And then there was some glowy thing that appeared. And then that glowing thing reappeared then and transported me back to the future. I was like, what is... at least there was time travel in this. Back to the Future could learn a few things from this game.
Yes.
I climbed a ladder in 9,600 BC and ended up back in my mansion. Do you know what games this reminded me of? There was 2 in particular. I've said the last 2, the previous one, but there was it feels like it's in the spirit of Castles of Dr. Creep and Mad Doctor.
Yeah, I thought that.
Castles of Dr. Creep in its obtuseness sort of thing, and Mad Doctor in its visual perspective, because it's got a visual perspective of 3D, so you see these rooms in a sort of pseudo 3D effect. You don't get any small as you walk into the back, but that's what it is. It's lo-fi puzzle obscurity, and it feels like this is a game where it doesn't care. I don't think it cares whether you play it or not. It's like, I am what I am. This is a game. I look like this. There are loads of weird stuff going on. If you're interested in finding this weird stuff, have a go. I'm not going to tell you anything apart from you're a gnome who can shoot lightning bolts. And that's kind of what this is. I don't know what else to say about it. It's so strange. It felt like it's almost like someone designed it and then forgot the bits around the edge. Like the presentation, like the start screen, like a pause screen, like the bits that kind of explain what the hell this is supposed to be. It's like a game that's 95% finished, and then they went, we need to release it. Oh, I need to do the title screen and the explanation stuff. Like, don't worry, just put it out. People will work it out. And that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
I do like the fact you're a gnome, though, and you can shoot lasers. It's always a winner in my book.
Laser shooting gnomes are I'm a fan
of
not many games. Yeah, there's not many games go
exactly.
there. Not many games go there.
No. What did you make of this? Because it's a strange thing.
I thought exactly that. I thought it was a bit weird. It reminds me of the kind of weirdness that we got with that Monster Trivia and some other games that exist in their kind of own crazy logic world.
Yeah.
So in amongst all of it, there was quite a playable arcade adventure, I suppose. If you can belie the blocky looking basic graphics and that really bloody annoying music, if you can get past that, there is stuff to do in there. You've got multiple time zones, like you say. There's a game in there without a doubt, and if you can go with the logic and just go with it, you're probably going to have a bit of fun going through the various things. Some of the things look like this. Some of the things look like they're supposed to. Some of the things not so much. So there is a bit of guessing game as to what exactly they are. I've spent the first 20 minutes of the game wandering around thinking I'd picked up a baguette, but I realised it was a log. So I didn't like, some of the door logic was crazy, but you know what? It's just a quirk of this quirky game, because it's a quirky, and my chief word for this game was, this is really weirdly quirky. There's parts I liked about it. I quite like the idea, at least, like you say, at least you did time travel, and at least you'd go to different zones, and it had different looks and feels, and there was different stuff and puzzles in there, and you got to get those puzzles solved, find those 7 scriptures so you could become king of the gnomes. You know, it had a goal and a mission and a plan. You could explore and do stuff in basic though it was, you could do those things. It just, I don't know, it just felt a bit, like you say, I think the criticism I would have, playable though it was, is it just felt unfinished. It felt like this needed a bit more work. No, it felt like they'd released it sort of in beta. And then when all the detail was going to come later, it's like, oh, we'll fix all that in post. Don't you worry about it. Let's get it out there.
Let the animators do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that there's, you know what, if you take games down to some of their basic core concepts and you said, does this game do the things that they set it out to do? It might not do it the prettiest way, and it might not do it with the most beautiful music, but does this game do what it set out? And it does. You can play a game where you can time travel as a gnome, solving puzzles. That was their plan, clearly, and they made that. It just lacks the polish and the spit and polish of something that with a bit more elaboration. It doesn't, I think that means that in my book, it doesn't deserve a $9.95 price tag at the time.
No.
I think it felt to me like it was a $1.99 game, and having played $1.99 games not that long ago prior to this, this felt like a very expensive game compared to the game you were getting for something like Phantoms of the Asteroid, which is $1.99 for what probably felt bigger and more polished. Mm-hmm. So that's my take on it. Crazy game in crazy world logic, expensive at the time, and it only got 49% in Zapped for a reason, and that's because I think they agreed that there's some good ideas in there, but some of it implemented badly and just some weird choices about things, but you can live with that, then you might get something from it, but not me. Not me, though. No. Don't persevere with these games well.
I love Krusty.
I love Krusty. I don't persevere with these games well when they, games where you start without any elaboration of ideas of what to do.
It's Mad Doctor.
Yeah, exactly. And again, with the same logic applied to that, with the Commodore 64 games, you need a little bit of guidance. And I don't have the instructions. Maybe there was a 900-page instruction book that came with this. I doubt it, though. It'd probably be a half a page cassette inlay that just said, start the game and do stuff, figure it out, get on with it.
Yeah, it could do with the title screen.
Yeah, just something to delineate that you've begun and that something's happening other than just appearing. So,
yeah.
But that's life as a gnome, you see. Gnomes don't have choices that we have, then.
True. That is true. They just sit in gardens and look cute with their shorts down, showing their asses off.
Exactly. We're waving baguettes, thinking that they're logs, or waving logs, thinking they're baguettes. I can't
believe you thought there was a baguette.
Well, in this crazy game, I didn't have any other clothes to go by. It made more sense for a gnome to pick up a baguette than it did a log at that moment in time.
That's a fair point.
On reflection, though. But then I thought, well, why? I love the blasé part of, and it's just happens to have a time machine. It's like, well, all the good gnomes do, I guess. Why would he want that? For what purpose would he want a time machine, and why only those times? But you know what? It's weird world. So weird world.
It is. Somebody had an idea. They thought this was, and they went with it, and they made this, and to them it makes absolute sense. And like you said, it works. There are the puzzles to solve, the bits to find, the things to sort out, and it doesn't. The good thing it doesn't do, it has. Every now and again, it has an enemy. I mean, I shot a bat in Salem, but it doesn't pester you. Just lets you get on with it. No. We're a fan. We have said that we're a fan of that, but there's been a fan of that, and then you still need some feedback, somewhere to sort of tell you you're doing the right. And there's a bit where I was wandering the ship in 3456, and I got out the main door. Or I went down, and then there was just a room where you walk forward and you could go left or right, and it just was the same graphical door, just the same graphical room as I walked through. And I didn't know, is this looping? But then I came downwards, and I was in a different place with 2 keys. Yeah. So I turned the keys, and then I could go back, and the door suddenly opened. I was like, oh, God, okay.
Yeah.
I just need a bit of.
No, you solved the puzzle of the mysterious 2 keys. Well done.
I did. That's
good. Did you spot that the times you can leap to are really weird and arbitrary? It's just like, 9,600 BC, 893 BC, 86 BC, then 1692. Nothing in between there. Then 1849, and then nothing in the 1900s, in the noughties. Just jumps straight away to 3456.
The gnomes have no interest in times where we live now. Do you see any gnomes around now?
Which time zone is he in? Where does he start? Because it must be in
his own home?
Yeah, which one is it out of them?
I think it's a place out of time.
Okay.
I think it exists in the same places. Let's face it, he's got a cosmic bunker, sort of cosmic closet.
Yeah, and time to bake French pastries and baguettes.
And then set them on fire in his fireplace.
Life of a busy gnome.
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
Time-travelling meddling oaf.
It is a weird one. I think if you like those things, if you like Castles of Dr. Creep, you like Mad Doctor, you like that obscure, weird side of the C64 where the games are not typical in that thing, you probably will get into this.
You'll like it.
But only then.
Yeah.
If you like your more typical platformers or shoot 'em ups, this probably is not going to float your boat.
No, you're not going to get a lot.
No. So that's that. That's Time Tunnel. Let's fast forward in time to our next game, which is an arcade conversion. Graham, tell us about Yie-Ar Kung-Fu.
So Yie-Ar Kung-Fu is the arcade conversion. There's quite an interesting heritage that goes back from that. This is a Konami, or was a Konami arcade game back in the early 1984-ish, 83, 84, I think. Clearly inspired by the Kung Fu movies that were around at the time. So there's bits of Bruce Lee and stuff like that, possibly even Jackie Chan and stuff like that. The characters that you fight against are all kind of those kind of archetypal characters. It's essentially it's a fighting game, and you play a character called Oolong, and you've got various moves that you can. I hesitate to use. Just before you go on, you know this, but I've always thought, is that the noise that the invaders make in the Jeff Wayne War of the Worlds? Well, the oolah. Oolong, because I always thought they'd go oolong. I always thought it was weird. It's oolah. I thought they said oolong, and I thought it was. I've always thought it was a very strange thing that the protagonist of Yie-Ar Kung-Fu was named after the Jeff Wayne musical of War of the Worlds. No, they say oolah. Just. Very similar to your Oolong. Could be his brother, for all we know. Okay. So it's an arcade conversion, fighting game. You play Oolong. You have to work your way through a series of different fighters that all have kind of cunning skills or weapons or both. You've got a number of death-defying moves which you can pull off with the joystick. I hesitate to use the term pull off in that context, but I would say that there is an arrangement of moves around the joystick of which you can attempt, and some of them will have impact and some of them won't. You can fly around and jump about, and it's an arcade conversion. Now, so there are some amazing things about this. and there are some things that are not so great. And the problems that it has aren't because of the Commodore 64. The problems that this game has are because of the arcade, because it's inherited the arcade logic of this game, and that was the difficulty and the controls, of which you feel like you have neither. So you play Oolong, and when the game starts, and it has the Commodore 64 version has all the trappings of the arcade. It has all the interstitial music, it has all the sort of characters. The graphics are actually pretty good. The sprites are reasonably sized. It's super quick, super fast. It has all the principal components of the arcade game. So it's all there. The problem is that it inherits that problem, which is that the moves just feel like things that happen. That you move the joystick and moves just happen, and it doesn't feel like it. In a different way to the way the Exploding Fist, when you wanted to do a certain move, you put the joystick in that position, that move is the move that you did. This one can suddenly flip between 16 different moves all in the space of 2 seconds, and it's not always clear that you're doing them or whether you're in control of it, and you can tell that it's hit the character because it is a little star when it hits them, but sometimes it doesn't hit them, and you think it should, and the detection of collision between the fighting moves doesn't seem quite there, and so it feels like you're winning this game by more or less accident, that you win your battle with your opponent by fluke, really. And you can get so far in this game by doing that, and it's fun for so long, and each time you start the different level, you get the great music, little interstitial music, and you get the look and feel and the introduction. It's all there as the trappings of the arcade, and that is its problem, is that it's trapped in the arcade and doesn't provide any extra control or logic to a game that is essentially just random stuff happening on the screen where you might feel like you're part of it for a bit. All of that is elided by the amazing music, because it has one of the greatest pieces of music in the Commodore 64 by a mile. Now, Yie-Ar Kung-Fu is essentially a really good cover of a Jean-Michel Jarre piece of music, and it's really good. A really good one. It's a Martin Galway piece. It doesn't suit this game at all.
No,
it's that comic bakery logic. Weirdly, all of the music in the game does suit the game because it's all from the arcade. So all of the we use some of those interstitials in our podcast. So the we use all of them ones because they are what they are. They're good little arcade blipverts. They're good. But the main piece is, I think, 8-9 minutes long, maybe even longer. Really elaborate version of a Jean-Michel Jarre piece. I forget which one it is now. It's one of the ones we've mentioned in last week's podcast.
It's Magnetic Fields, I think.
I think it's Magnetic Fields
3 or something.
One of those, but it's a real big, doozy, heavyweight version of a Jean-Michel Jarre piece. It doesn't sit on an arcade game where you're a kung fu fighter trying to fight his way through wave after wave of crazy enemies. It simply doesn't live there. But you know what? Just like we said for Comic Bakery, there it is. The game is kind of weak, but that music is amazing. So you could, I don't know really, if you'd have bought this at $8.95, I think you might have lasted a little while. I think there's a 2-player option. I can't remember. There may not be. I don't think you'll last very long as Oolong. You'll probably get past Boochu and a few of the others, and you might work your way up to the ones where they've got this one called Fan, and there's ones that throw chains at you and all sorts of stuff. And you might make it to those by luck, but it's certainly not by judgment that you'd have got there. But you have got that amazing music. So I don't like Kung Fu. Yie-Ar Kung-Fu as a game particularly, for all the reasons I've stated. But I'll stand by its music because it's all the music in the game and that amazing opening piece. It's just brilliant. And I think it's also another one that had the ocean loader, I guess, or one of the loading things. I could be wrong, but I think it did have.
It would have done, probably, yeah. I'd have thought so.
Great opening music, great opening shots, but a game that is kind of just annoying, really, in the end. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page, I think. Although I'm going to start this off with, this got 84% in Zapped for music. 84. Phantom of the Asteroid's got 91.
That's strange.
I don't even understand the thinking behind that. They're either not big, either they think like you, it doesn't fit the game.
I think there is
but
that.
They just but the comment, I think the comment in the magazine is just something like, decent title screen tune or something. It's not even a really thing of it. It beggars belief. It's one of the best tunes on the machine.
Maybe they didn't listen to it all at the time, because
it's
a long old piece of music to sit there. I mean, who's going to sit there really at that time when you've got that game excitedly and listen to a 9-minute Jean-Michel Jarre piece?
Me.
No, well, yeah,
but I'm weird. Anyway,
it's not that you're weird, but average Joe Kung Fu game isn't going to sit there and go, wow, they'll just want to get into the game. They might never, a bit like that sound effects in Scarabaeus. Some people might never have got that far into that music to even hear it.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, yes, it's Yie-Ar Kung-Fu, and as you have quite correctly pointed out, for all it's a really let's not beat around the bushes. This is a really good conversion of the arcade game.
Yeah.
And as you rightly point out, the problems are in the arcade game, not in this. If they'd have fixed the collision detection in this, and they'd have maybe just fixed, you do find yourself just doing moves which you didn't think you were doing, this would have been ace. This would have been really good because it's really, like you said, it's fast, it's responsive. Dave Collier is the programmer, and he's Ocean Imagine. He does loads of stuff for Ocean Imagine. He did Daley Thompson's, he does Arkanoid, Combat School, Green Beret, Hypersports, Roland's Rat Race, Rambo, Target Renegade, Terra Cresta. I mean, the guy's got a CV on him of these great arcadey style conversions. This guy could do it, and the music. So he's got this team at Ocean Imagine that are making these games, and he's taken Yie-Ar Kung-Fu and put it in 64K. And hats off to him, because there's all 11 fighters there, I think.
There is,
which is pretty impressive, and they've all got the idiosyncrasies. However, screw Pole, because that's where I got to, because Pole has that ability to just go, dead. And you're like, fight to dead. He just catches you and you're dead. And I tried going through it about 3 or 4 times. Every time I was like, you know what? I remember this being annoying in the day. I was actually quite good at it back in the day. But this game, I seem to remember, was if you can get past Pole, you can pretty much loop it until you get to Pole again. Pole was the nightmare, I always found. And that was, I think, probably the same in the arcade game. The hit detection is all over the place. Sometimes you'll kick some and you'll hit them. Sometimes you won't. It feels too arbitrary. It's such a shame. There's a great arcade game here, a great, quick, fast arcade fighter that's unlike anything else because it's really different to something like Exploding Fist. It's really different to something like Kung Fu Master. This is doing its own thing. It's very what's the term for sort of Chinese, Japanese films where they're on wires and they're jumping around? Like your heroes.
It's Japanese, Chinese Kung Fu on wires.
That's the word I'm looking for. Those kind of monkey type stuff. Those kind of things where the action is clearly in those sorts of films where they'll jump around and they'll be flying about and they're clearly on wires. It's obvious, but they don't care. It's part of their mythology. It's part of their representation of their historical legends and things like that. And there's lots of, and that feels more like this because the way that Oolong jumps is ridiculous. You jump about like a flea, and it puts me in the mind of that. But it just, goddamn, that collision detection. If someone could come in and fix that in this game, this would be amazing.
Yeah,
it really would, because it's a fast, snappy, great conversion. It's got ace music. The interstitial stuff's brilliant. It all feels good, but you can't have a fighter with bad collision detection. And it's such a shame.
No.
And that does go back to the original arcade, as you said.
That's it. Apparently the 11 martial arts and masters that are in this are Bushu, Star, Nuncha, Pole, Feudal, Chain, Club, Fan, Sword, Ton, Fun, and Blues. There you go, that's the next. Yeah. And by the way, just as an interesting little aside, and something I know you'll appreciate, the character of Nuncha is depicted in a yellow karate gi. That is a homage to John Saxon's role as Roper in Enter the Dragon.
Yay, Roper!
Hey, Roper! Give us the money, Roper, or we got to break something. He actually kills somebody in that movie by kicking him really hard in the testicles. So
it can be done.
Yes, he does. He kills.
Probably because they dipped him in his yogurt.
Exactly. He kills Bollo. That's who he kills. Ironically, by kicking him in his bollos. There you go.
Twin bollos.
He kicks him right real hard in the bollos.
and he utters a bollo.
He does. He just goes.
He bollos in pain.
He falls on the floor and passes away peacefully. It's almost like sleep, really. And that, which is, we've all been there. We've all been kicked in the bollos and felt that pain. So
we just go to sleep for a little while. Our body can't move.
Yeah, I'm just going to close down for a while.
Oh dear. Yeah. It's a shame. I mean, I really do want to like Yie-Ar Kung-Fu. I've always had a soft spot for it because of that music, and I do like the styling of it and the feel of it. But yes, that collision detection is such a pain in the ass.
It is.
Such a pain in the ass. There we go. Yie-Ar Kung-Fu. That's the last of our games for this section. We'll be back after this short interstitial stuff, which may be an advert. It could be us talking about something else. Who knows? We'll be back soon, though, with film and television in April 1986.
Keeping up with the
Thanks to our sponsor, DavidHearnWriter.com, where you'll find books and audiobooks that are as cheap as real chips. Dave's next book, Escape from the Commodore 64, sees someone trapped inside their bread bin. They had to complete one of the games they're stuck in to escape. Crash landing on a green planet full of vector graphics. Can they find a way to escape for real? If only they can find that Nova drive. Or they could stay and become mayor. Either way works, really. Book, ebook, and audiobook are coming soon. Visit DavidHearnWriter.com. That's David, Hearne, writer.com to find out more. Hello, welcome back. So we're on to films and TV for April 1986. What was going on in the world of moving image back then? Let's have a look. Well, we spoke about this with their song that came out last week, Just Say No. The cast of Grange Hill. They were obviously, this was a TV show. For those who don't know, Grange Hill was a TV show set in a school, ran for many, many years over different periods. And everybody from about the age of about 55 to probably about 40 will have their favourite period of Grange Hill, because that was probably when they were a certain age. Yeah. And so, as part of this show, they had a story that was going on where one of their characters, Zammo, became a bit of a druggie, and they wanted to show the pitfalls and horrors of drugs. And as part of the BBC's Drug Watch campaign, this is from Wikipedia, BBC One airs It's Not Just Zammo, a news round special that was presented by John Craven and Nick Ross that seeks to warn younger viewers about the dangers of using drugs. The programme followed a recent drug abuse storyline in Grange Hill involving the character Zammo Maguire. Was that his real name? His first name was Zammo.
It was, yeah.
Not Bobby Zammo. I thought Zammo would be his surname.
Might be Samuel, maybe is his real name, but he's Zammo.
Maybe. Played by Lee McDonald, and features the launch of a version of the anti-drug song Just Say No, which went into the charts. That was recorded by the Grange Hill cast. The song goes on to reach the top 10. And the weird thing was, members of the cast were invited to the White House to meet the First Lady, Nancy Reagan, who founded the Just Say No campaign. And I was watching some 80s thing on TV the other week, and it was Nancy Reagan and Ronald Reagan, and they were sat in their really chintzy living room of the White House. Yeah. It was awful. It was proper 80s awfulness of a chintz, of a nightmare of a living room. Nightmare. And they were sat on this sofa, and Ronald was all like, I want to introduce you to my wife Nancy, and she has important things to say. And she gives this big speech about saying no to drugs. It was so weird.
That Ronald Reagan you just did an impersonation of that.
There was an attempt, but I pulled out quickly.
Not the first time you've said that.
I pulled out quicker than Roger Moore in Moonraker.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so this was a big thing, wasn't it? It was this whole Just Say No campaign with Zammo and Grange Hill and the White House and the US and say no to drugs, and drugs are a bad thing, and winners, because this led on to winners don't use drugs.
Yeah, it did.
Was that in NARC?
That was in Williams games. Yeah, well, all the Williams games. The FBI sponsored games. Yeah, winners don't use drugs. Yeah, a game where you literally kill drug dealers and pick up their dirty needles and their drug money and blow them apart with rocket launchers.
NARC was the Eugene Jarvis, wasn't it? NARC.
Williams. Same people that eventually came to make Mortal Kombat made that. So.
Yeah. Defender and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so this was a huge thing, that there was this big drive. I'm not 100% up on my drug history. It's not my forte, but I believe the 80s was the big thing. The big scary thing was crack. It was crack in the 80s. Was that the big?
Zammo was heroin. He was a big heroin addict.
Zammo was heroin, but America and everything that was going on was
cocaine, heroin,
crack academic.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
And it was such a, it's hard to, we're so used to these kind of things on TV, so used to them these days, but having your kids, this was on, kids TV, we've spoken about kids TV already, this was on, as you came up from school, having the people that you would become, because they were your age group, so there was seeing people that you had kind of grown accustomed to and kind of grew to like and love as these characters, suddenly seeing one of them go down the tubes, because it's hard to, drugs were not well, I don't know, they may have been a big thing, but where we lived, they weren't that big, were they? Not that we were aware of.
No,
not in our age range at school in Grimsby.
No,
the UK, they were not a thing. So this was such a it was quite an eye-opening story. It was quite a brave story for because I think it was Phil. Was it Phil Redmond?
It was
the guy who was running it, and he would go on, I think, to do. Would he be part of Brookside?
Yes, he did Brookside, yeah. And
I think he did Brookside, which was also quite, he obviously not afraid of taking on strong storylines that were tackling issues of the day. This was unusual. This was really unusual. Your kids' TV was Dogtanian, Battle of the Planets.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff going on in Grange Hill was, the most threatening thing was the sausage in the opening credits. Now we have one of the main characters becoming addicted to drugs, and there was the great scene, isn't there? The harrowing scene where he's in the cloakroom, he's in the locker room, where he's scrabbling around trying to pick up the bag of heroin.
Yeah, because Roland Browning spilt his little baggie. Roland, you bastard. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy that it was a huge thing. It was
because I think it's his girlfriend at the time. I can't remember his girlfriend's name. I think she grabs it and tips it out, or flushes it down the loo, or tips it on the floor, or some gesture. Says, "Zammy, you're out of control, man, and you're not having any of this stuff." And then he was like freaked out completely. He's like dabbing it off the floor with his finger. I've seen that happen in toilets in nightclubs. I've seen it. I've seen that scene played out before my eyes many times. I'm not involved in any of that. I've just seen it played out. I just assumed it was a very elaborate Zammo Maguire reenactment. I applauded. What else would you do when you see that?
Toss them a couple of £5 notes.
Well done. That's the best Zammo Maguire impersonation I've seen in many a year. Well done, you. And you look like Roland. You're a good one. I don't even know him. But no, it was a big deal. It was quite harrowing at the time because they were. I mean, these characters were. It's hard to define it now, but I suppose there are TV equivalents of not Grange Hill anymore, but it's like a sitcom. It's like a children's version of a soap opera. And what's the one that's on now? There's one like it that's on now where stuff like this happens, and they have murderers and all sorts in it. But Hollyoaks, yeah, that's the same guy that wrote it, I think.
Yeah, but could you imagine? I mean, I don't know if they've done it. I'm guessing they're not. But if you were sat there watching High School Musical, and one of the characters suddenly become a massive druggie, Zac Efron's character became a massive druggie and was shoveling coke up his nose, heroin up his nose, off the toilet floor.
They weren't shy of dealing with stuff in Grange Hill because it wasn't just drug abuse. They had bullying, they had child abuse at one point, I think, as well, physical child abuse and stuff. They've covered a lot of ground, and it was that kind of safe space for TV to be able to make a play about it and then open a discussion about it, because they realised in the mid-80s that you couldn't just shield people from all these things happening. You had to talk about it and dispel some of the myths around it, because educating people, as they discovered, is better than hiding it from them. And this was part of that grand strategy to sort of demystify drugs as this thing that happens elsewhere in these places you don't go, which ironically for us was exactly the truth. But it wasn't. It was actually just to make it so that anyone can get addicted. It's easy to fall into that trap with the wrong people and the wrong stuff. And it was quite a powerful campaign. Now, how that led them to meet Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan, I don't know. And, and I suspect all the cast of Grange Hill must have been sat there going, "We're meeting who? Why?" But you know what? Free flights to the White House can't be bad.
Yeah, true. Get to sit in that chintzy front room.
Just imagine Ronald Reagan going,
"Lovely.
And who are you, son?" And Zammo going, I'm
Zammo.
I'm Lee McDonald. I play Zammo Maguire. I'm the one that was addicted in that. Well, don't be addicted. It's bad for you. It's because he was a babbling psychotropic maniac, wasn't he? Not Lee McDonald. He's a lovely guy. Ronald Reagan, I mean.
Was that a Ronald Reagan impression I just heard as well?
It was basic. Yeah, basic Reagan. I don't know. I can only think of Ronald Reagan from bloody
Spitting Image,
yeah. My fellow Americans, I don't know. I can't remember how he did that voice.
The president's brain is missing.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I found out the other day, Steve Coogan did loads of the voices on early Spitting Image. But
and Chris Barry as well.
Chris Barry did Reagan. He was the Reagan. He did that.
Yeah,
so they got to meet Ronald Reagan. They got a song in the charts. It was, Now, the question is, right, did this influence you at the time? Did you, because it did make you think, didn't it? I at the time, I'd have never admitted it. If someone had said to me, have you seen that episode of Grange Hill? And, I would have been like, yeah, sorry, it's stupid, rubbish, nonsense. What are they on about?
Yeah.
And very bravo. But in thinking about it now, it is a quite a powerful message, and I think I've never been a druggie or anything like that, but I imagine that there's people that might very well have triggered in the right council estates, in the right areas. People might have very well led to conversations that maybe help them through some of those difficult addictions. I don't know. I think that's a nice thought.
I was playing my Commodore 64 or playing football, and I wasn't really around people who did it, but it was one of those things just to look at and go, oh.
Well, you think you were, but in actuality, you were strapped to a bed for 6 weeks telling everyone you was Jesus because you were high. Don't you remember when you tried to jump off your garage roof telling everyone you was a chicken? And that was actually just down to a really weird sort of allergic reaction to peas. Not so much heroin or anything, but side effects and side effects.
If you grind peas down, you can snort anything.
If you're snorting peas, you've got a lot of problems, the least of which is the hallucinations that would come from that. So, and especially, but you know what? They did try and remedy that pea addiction with the Give Peas a Chance campaign. But
I don't like you.
But it wasn't nearly as popular.
Podcast is over.
Great Jill Cast never got to go to America on the back of that one, let me tell you.
Send in the riot police.
But no, Grey Jill was a great show. You can actually go and, I'm pretty sure if you went on YouTube and Googled YouTube Zammo Maguire, you're going to see that famous clip along with other clips where he gets into trouble for, tripping over a frog, kicking a dog, falling over a log, and other things that rhyme with the dog.
Such as? Is this the candy of 1,000 uses?
Yeah, he slapped a hog. Fell in a bog.
He fell in a bog.
Yeah, exactly.
Picked up some pogs.
Pogs. Did they have pogs there? But yeah, he's it's of its time, but Grey Jill is it's not good when you watch it back now, I'll be honest, because it was always nothing like school, even though it was set at a school, because it was a soap opera set in a school. But it was nothing like school, but it was kind of like school. But the funny thing is,
it was enough.
It is, and certain things stick out in your memory. I remember Zammo addiction, and I remember Roland, the big sort of chubbier kid in it, stealing all his dad's chocolate bars out of a lorry and eating them. And did he eat them or did he use them for a competition? I think he stole the wrappers to try and claim some prize money or something and getting his dad into loads of trouble. Random things you remember, because I just remember thinking, that's a stupid thing to do, Roland. So, but there you go.
There you go. And the guy who played Hitler in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was Mr. Bronson.
Mr. Bronson, yeah, he was, yeah.
The one who everyone hated, but then turned good at one point, didn't he? Did a good thing, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's all right."
He
underneath.
did, yeah. Remember the headmaster was Mrs. McCluskey, I think.
Rightly. For a while, yeah.
And the bully was
our period,
Gripper Stepson. Gripper Stepson, such an ace name for a character. And then later on, it became I would say there's a girl bully character, but I can't remember her name. But Gripper Stepson.
After Cass went on to EastEnders, didn't there?
It did. Todd Carty did, yeah. But what was her name?
Todd Carty and Michelle Tully.
I remember.
Was she?
Yeah, Michelle Tully.
Susan Tully.
Susan Tully. Yeah.
Tully,
she was in it. Yeah, she was in.
Who played Michelle?
Michelle. A few of them went on to EastEnders, yeah. It's like the progression, really.
Yeah, it was. Right, yeah, that's Grey Jill. 2nd of April, the first InVision teletext service is seen on ITV when Central launched its Job Finder service.
Oh, God, Job Finder. Wow.
It broadcast for 1 hour after the end of the day's programming. Many other regions launched their own Job Finder service later in the 1980s. I think that actually says something more about the unemployment figures in the 1980s than technology.
It was heavy going.
We need to show them jobs. We need to get people working. Where can we do this? Technology. And then they've got nothing else to do because they sat at home watching telly.
On the news at the time, the news would be on and they would do all the news stories, and then it would have almost like a weather announcement, but it was just the job tally, the jobless tally, so the unemployment tally. It had like a counter of unemployment, and it was in the corner like tolling away, and there's been 1,000 job losses down in Kent, and then the little counter would spin round, and the 500 jobs went in this factory in Dorset, and then it was really, really horrible. So Job Finder was kind of a technological olive branch to try and find something. It'd be interesting to know how many, if anybody out there who listens to this got their job from Job Finder. Maybe they're doing that to this day. Who knows? Be interesting.
Maybe. Kind of like COVID cases.
Yeah,
Similar
exactly.
sort of thing.
Same sort
we get
of
our daily COVID cases, but we get our good news because we get vaccines.
Yeah, and then, of course, the mystery really behind Job Finders, who did the music that sat behind that? Where did it come from? It was this ether world of non-music, because it was really weird lame cover of lift music, but I'd love to know who decided what was behind it.
It was probably whoever did those cover versions you would hear in small supermarkets like Tate's.
Oh, yeah.
You'd go in there, those or your local thingy, they'd play those things over the air, and It wasn't quite. It wasn't the original. It was some cover.
Yeah, it wasn't Van
quite
Halen.
the right cover.
It was Dan Halen.
It was Bon Holen.
Yeah. Yeah, he was singing Leap, the great hit Leap.
And Eruption. Bon Holen with Eruption.
It sounds like the Aldi branded versions of those bands. So
go ahead and leap.
I can't believe it's not Van Halen as their first album.
Oh, what else happened? 3rd of April. There's a brand new children's animated series, The Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Began on ITV, as told by Neil Innes.
Neil Innes, The Raggy Dolls. Raggy Dolls, just like you and me.
I knew if I put that in here, you'd hum that. I knew you'd say that.
It. If you're a hump and your leg is a lump and your fingers are all thumbs.
Well, he did all the music for Monty Python, didn't he?
Did? It's a good little...
Yeah, he's a cracking little... He was. I'm pretty sure he's... I'm guessing. I think he's died. I may be wrong. I'm not committing to it. He's Schrodinger's Neil Innes, as far as I'm concerned.
I always like the line in the song for that. You're out if you don't fit in. Look who's in the reject bin. I quite like that. It's quite a bleak lyric. It's up there with the Thomas the Tank Engine classic lyrics. Accidents happen now and again, just when you least expect, just when you think that life is unfair. Fate comes to collect. Classic Thomas the Tank Engine. That's real Thomas the Tank Engine lyrics. That is.
Accidents shouldn't happen with trains.
No, they're doing Thomas the Tank Engine world though.
But the thing, I mean, yeah, because the Raggy Dolls were, imperfect dolls, weren't they? So
yeah,
it was quite a nice message behind that. Yeah. BBC One's Top of the Pops introduces a new theme tune, The Wizard by Paul Hardcastle.
Yes.
I didn't know Paul Hardcastle did that.
Did you know? And yeah, I did know that it was Paul Hardcastle.
No.
And he did that for Next to Note as well.
Yeah, probably.
But it's great.
Like kind of guy.
It even charted after that as well.
Yeah, that's because he released a new version of 19 every week for a period of 2 to 3 months.
The version of The Wizard that came out is not... There's several versions of that, none of which are identical to the one that's on Top of the Pops.
11th of April, the chart show is broadcast for the first time on Channel 4. I didn't know it started on Channel 4.
Yeah, it did, and it wasn't a chart show that I watched a lot of at the time. I was a Top of the Popser, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but the chart show became essential viewing when it used to hit, when I think it hit lunchtime at ITV on a Saturday.
Yeah, it did have some quirky stuff in there, that's for sure.
When it had the indie chart and stuff.
Yeah, and Dick
Which
Spanner.
I really used to enjoy. Yeah. 12th of April, ITV airs the network television premiere of John Carpenter's The Thing.
That would have been the first time I saw that as well.
Not mine. I saw it on... my brother got it on video, so I'd seen it then. But that's... what was that? 1986. Took 4 years. That's how long films took to hit TV.
All right.
Any kind of terrestrial thing, if you couldn't get it on video back in the 80s, you were waiting 4 years for a film to show up on TV.
Absolutely. And we all know, of course, that this is pre-widescreen TVs and widescreen.
Oh, yes.
So
this is in 4:3.
Yeah, it's in 4:3, which means it's got that pan and scan. So
Yeah.
and there's a scene in it where it's so horrifically pans and scans that it's quite embarrassing, really. So
Yeah.
do yourself a favour, get the Blu-ray.
Pan and scan and chop and cut, was it? Was it the other version?
Same thing,
chop
yeah,
and
where
cut?
it would actually cut to different areas of the screen as opposed to pan across
Yeah.
and whip pan, yeah.
So it looked like it looked like it'd been edited, but it wasn't.
Yeah, some of them got away with it, but not many.
I remember the first time I saw the widescreen version of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, after having only seen the TV version, which had some horrific chop and cut in it. It was just cutting so often. It was like, and you got so used to it, and then you saw the widescreen version. It was like, it's just one shot. It's just one long shot of the mountain, and even in the foreground, there's just loads of it. But yeah, TV used to do loads of stuff like that. It was terrible. Finally, 23rd of April, Joss's Giants debut. Do you remember Joss's Giants?
I don't remember much about it. I remember the name. I don't remember much about it.
It was a football. I think it was Newcastle football kids.
It's a little bit coming back to me. A little bit coming back to me.
I remember watching it quite a lot, but it was only on for a year. But I do remember it, and I seem to have that in mind with Murphy's Mob. Do you remember Murphy's Mob?
No, I don't. You're making these up. Murphy's Mob, Joss's Giants, Gary's Gang,
Bob's Bunch.
Bob's Bunch. Yeah. Terry's Tacklers.
Do you know? Oh, that was great. I used to love Terry's Tacklers. Oh, marvellous. Anyway, that's TV. Anyway, films. What films are out? April the 4th, Absolute Beginners. Have you watched that yet? You said you were going to go watch it.
No, I haven't. And I've decided I'm not going to.
No, don't. It's not worth it. No. It's really bad.
So I've just gone to the absolute end.
It was a product of its time, and even of its time, it was bad.
Yes.
So don't watch it. 11th of April, though, welcome to Fright Night. For real.
Fright Night is ace. Fright Night is ace. And I tell you what, Fright Night is ace. The sequel, Fright Night 2, obviously, is not as good, but still good, and still has some really great moments in it. And the remake...
Oh, the rollerbladers.
Yeah, some of it isn't as
the
good.
rollerblading vampires.
Yeah, but some of it's good. And has some silly characters in the remake, in the second one. The remake, I think, is brilliant. Very underrated film, the remake. Really good. And it's got an exceptionally good performance from Colin Farrell in it.
As the vampire, yeah, he's brilliant.
It's brilliant in that. It's a really good film. It's dead underrated. So I like the Fright Night franchises. In fact, I watched these only maybe 2 weeks ago. I downloaded I rented rented from an establishment. The whole shebang, Fright Night 2, and then the remake, to watch them all in a Fright Night. And I actually have to say, as much as I like Colin Farrell's version of Jerry Dandridge in the remake, I still really like the Jerry Dandridge in the original Fright Night. I know it's the guy from Princess Bride, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
I can't think of his name.
Oh my god, it's Chris Sarandon.
Chris Sarandon. So he plays the vampire really well in that. He does all the kind of crazy, weird vampire noises when he's got crucifixes, and the makeup effects, actually, even though they are dated.
They're quite gruesome in places.
Quite gruesome, and they are, and they're quite grim.
And there's a really weird sequence as well. Yeah, there's a really drawn out sequence where Evil Ed gets staked when he's a wolf and turns back.
Yes,
that sequence goes on for way longer than you think it should do.
Yeah,
but he's all the more powerful and brilliant for it. It's really quite moving and horrible.
It's not compromising in actuality, because you think it has got elements of black comedy to it, and it has. But there's more black than comedy in it. There's some funny bits in it, but the actual when Jerry Dandridge targets the main character and starts to decides that he's going to, without going into spoilers, he's going to kill him, and he's following him around the house, and he's kind of indestructible, and he's just appearing. It's genuinely quite terrifying.
One of my favourite sequences as well is when he appears in his bedroom.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Those bits are genuinely freaky.
He just breaks his door handle. Yeah, or the whole door frame. He just destroys it.
Yeah,
there's so many good bits. And obviously the Peter. Oh, what's his name from Planet of the Apes? Oh, god damn! Why am I forgetting his name?
Van Helsing, I think, a variant of Van Helsing in this, doesn't he? But he's
it's the classic Roddy McDowall.
Yeah, Roddy McDowall.
So Roddy McDowall is great in it. He's really, really good.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And as he comes to sort of realise that what he thought was just make believe and everything is actually real.
Yeah,
it's so good. And the death of the familiar on the stairs is horrible.
Yeah,
there's so many good sequences and there's so many good lines, and I'm in complete agreement. I think Fright Night, it does get kind of lumped in with a bit. Oh, it's a bit sort of 80s cheese. It's a bit, but it's not. I don't think it is. I think it's. I will always, because I'm not a big fan of like the Lost Boys. I think it's okay. That's 80s cheese, but I think Fright Night is the definitive for me. It's that and probably Near Dark definitive 80s vampire films.
Yeah. I always like the premise of Fright Night. It borrows bits from other films in clever ways. So it borrows a little bit of Rear Window, and it borrows a little bit of sort of obviously vampire lore and vampires, but it plays that so brilliantly that the main character, who's a pretend vampire hunter on TV, has to be convinced that there's real vampires. It's such a good twist. I really like it. It's a great film. Definitely go and rent them from a legitimate place. And when you do that, or on some kind of, you can probably get them on Watch Again on demand somewhere. They'll be out there on one of the many systems. Go and find it and watch them. Yep. And do yourself a favour, watch that. Give Fright Night 2 a chance, because it's not as good, but it's still quite good, and it is a continuation. And then definitely watch the Fright Night remake, because there's some moments in that are genuinely horrific and brilliant, and it's just worth watching it.
Sequence.
Yeah, just there's stuff that's throwaway in that film that really makes you go, whoa, that's kind of freakish, and some really good jump moments. I'm not going to spoil any of that, because there's some moments in it that will just genuinely make you go, whoa, I didn't expect that to happen. So,
and also, I didn't think it would actually work, but the reinvention of the Roddy McDowall character with David Tennant is really good as well.
Yeah, Peter Vincent. Yeah, I liked the idea that he was kind of a quirky sort of magic act thing. I think it works. Yeah, they couldn't just repeat what they had. I like it a lot. Definitely go and check them out. Well worth it.
Absolutely, we like those. Room with a View was also out on the 11th of April.
Oh, I've never really bothered with it. It's like one of those, I think it's Eddie Izzard that really summarised the whole British Room with a View kind of films. Like, oh, hello. It's just they're just awkward. Just films about people going into different rooms being awkward. Hello, are you okay? No, well, I'm not. Oh.
It's a film about repressed emotions and feelings and doing the proper right thing. If that floats your boat.
Until Krull came out, all the films in the UK were like that. Then Krull changed the rules.
Hang on. I'll say 2 words to you here. Carry on. They weren't about repressed emotions.
Nah, some of them were. You could get quite teary watching Carry On Up the Khyber.
And carry on at your convenience.
Yeah. What's his name? Mr. Boggs, isn't that, isn't he?
Mr. Boggs. Don't know why you need a bidet. Just stand upside down in the shower.
See, makes me laugh even to this day. I'm gonna have to watch some of them Carry On movies now.
Don't. They're terrible, but do also watch Carry On, Don't Lose Your Head. That's a good one.
Carry On, Don't Lose Your Head, and I'll probably end up watching Carry On Cleopatra, Carry On Cleo, and most likely Carry On Camping because it's stupid. But there you go.
But that's British cinema as we like it, not A Room with a View.
No, none of this.
No, none of that.
No.
18th of April, interesting one. Phenomena.
Is this the Argento film? Is it Argento?
It is. Creeper. Yeah, it's Creepers.
Yeah, so it's Dario Argento's one of his better movies.
It is.
I am not a fan of
got
many of his films.
Jennifer
Connolly, yeah. Good soundtrack.
Jennifer Connolly, yeah.
Great soundtrack.
Looking very young. She looks really young in it.
She is. Must be one of her first films up there with Labyrinth, I think. She's quite young in that. So essentially a child. Can you think she's still a great actress now? She's not bad in any of those films, really. She's good in everything at the minute. She's really good. And she's very attractive lady. Lovely singing voice. But huge tracts of land. Huge tracts of land.
Yeah, she was only like 15, 16 when she filmed it.
Yeah, in fact, she can't have been that much older when she was in One Wild Night riding that horse. To see most teenagers don't forget once they've seen it.
No, they do not.
But I like Phenomena only in that it's actually quite a really weird film and hard to follow, but that's Dario Argento movies in a nutshell. But it's one of his better ones. At least it's relatively easy to follow.
I do believe that the British version of Phenomena is cut to ribbons, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally.
From the original Creepers. It makes no sense. It makes even less sense than a normal Dario Argento film would.
Totally.
And I remember this film being reviewed on what would be Film 86 by Michael Parkinson because he was covering for Barry Norman at the time. And I remember him reviewing it, and he absolutely 100% just slated it, saying it was probably the worst film he'd ever seen.
Jeez.
I think Gary went around and beat him up at that point.
Well, he's always liked it, hasn't he? Because he's a big fan of Goblin, is it, that do the soundtrack for this one? Is it Goblin?
They do.
So, and in fact, I've actually even sampled bits of the Phenomena soundtrack and used them in my own music before now.
Yeah.
If at some point I'll put the link on the website. You can go and check it out if you want, maybe later. But yeah, good soundtrack, good filmish, but not Argento's great works. One of his great works. It's certainly better than some of the other certainly better than the most recent ones he's done.
We don't talk about them.
God, that Mother of Tears. Blimey.
No. 25th of April, let's move on. 25th of April was a film called The Light Ship.
Is that a horror movie about a light ship?
IMDb says a trio of robbers, two brothers, and their twisted genius leader invade a light ship, but don't reckon on the crew fighting back.
What's a light ship?
I don't know. Got Robert Duvall in it, or has it? I don't know. Anyway, no, we don't know what that is.
It's got Robbie Duvet. Robert Duvet is a budget
29th
actor.
of April, we saw Silverado.
Don't like it.
Do you not a Silverado fan?
No, I'm not a fan of it. It's that Western. Is it got what's his name? And it's
it's a Western with Kevin Kline.
Kevin Kline, that's it. Yeah.
Scott Glenn, Kevin Costner, Danny Glover.
Nah, not my cup of tea. Silverado.
It's all right. I quite enjoyed it. I think it's okay.
It's Western hokum, isn't it? It's not a fan.
Yeah, it's okay. But on also the same day, In the Shadow of Kilimanjaro. Do you remember that?
No, is that documentary?
Nah, Killer Baboons.
Oh God, no, I don't remember that. I
remember this. This is one of the ones I saw on video back then.
You've got the most eclectic video taste known to man.
It's my brother. It was my brother. My brother used to rent these films, and because I would just watch him with him. Why would I not? Because of a severe drought in Kenya in 1984, 90,000 starving baboons go on a murderous rampage, killing humans and animals alike.
Sounds like Planet of the Apes to me.
John Rhys Davies is in it.
Okay, that's not necessarily a good thing.
So Gimli's in it.
Does he play the same character who plays in Indiana Jones?
He's on a Gimli.
Revolutionary swords of Italy, whatever it is, yeah.
Maybe.
A British sword.
No, I don't think he plays Sola. No,
he should.
But no, I do. I know I've seen that film. I can remember nothing of it. I just knew when I saw it and I was cutting and pasting these and looking at these. I was like, "Isn't that the one about the killer baboons?" And it was. Killer baboons are always going to stay with you.
Yes, they have a tendency to do that.
They do.
They are quite dangerous, actually. Your average baboon is a strange and angry animal.
Yeah, don't mess with them. They don't want to. Right, that's it. That's your film and TV for 1986. So we had drugs in our children's TV programs and in the White House. We had TV trying to find people jobs. We had imperfect dolls. We had TV pop tunes changing and becoming on there. We had The Thing appearing. We had, and obviously our pick of the films is going to be Fright Night, isn't it?
Yep, without a doubt.
Yeah. Go watch Fright Night. It's really good. That's it. That's your films and TV for April 1986. We'll be back after this short break in a moment with the roundup of our last games for this month. So stay with us.
A big shout out to our sponsor davidhearnwriter.com, where you'll find bargain books and audiobooks. Dave's next book, Escape from the Commodore 64, sees someone trapped inside their bread bin. They have to complete one of the games they're stuck in to escape, finding themselves in a cave full of rocks, diamonds and butterflies. Can they get the jewels and get out? Book, ebook and audiobook, all coming soon. Visit davidhearnwriter.com to find out more. Dave's podcast pick is Yie-Ar Kung-Fu, where Fan was his nemesis and swishy pants let him jump like a thing on a spring.
All right, welcome back. This is the last section of this episode. We're going to look at a few more games. We've got 4 more to look at. Crapverts, we've got the charts, what's coming up next week, and that's what's going on in the next, I don't know, half hour or so. Let's get on with it then, because our first game is Nonterraqueous, a game that's as impenetrable as its title. This was a budget release from Mastertronic, $1.99, and yet it still only scored 48%. There's probably a reason for that. This is, I'm going to say those words, it's another one of them. It's a dull flick screen arcade adventure with a tune that is borderline criminal after a while.
Just a bit.
It's weird. I couldn't make out what head nor tail. This is another one of those strange old games. This is what I'm saying. This episode is replete with the weirdest of strange. It looks like a Spectrum game.
It does.
In some ways. Yet it has weird D64 sprites thrown in for the enemies. The graphical style is all over the place. I couldn't tell what you were. I didn't know whether you were being seen from above, front on, side on. You were some kind of yellow blob is the best I could describe it.
Yeah.
You move through these screens by kind of flying and avoiding stuff. I think you could shoot and kill stuff, but it's one of them, so they respawn as soon as you get back off and onto the screen. At times, you could swap to being a helicopter thing. There's a big thing that said swap, and you could swap, but I didn't quite know why. It would every now and again, my psyche would run out, and it would be game over.
Yep, sounds familiar.
I don't know. I hated it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it then. I do remember playing it because I remember the name, and I remember not liking it, and I don't like it now. No. I don't like the fact, again, I said this about Phantoms of the Asteroid, that sometimes you lose energy when you hit stuff and sometimes it's instant death. You know, just give one or the other or give me lives, whatever you want to do, but pick a side and stick with it. There's some kind of story about collecting something from a sentient computer. I don't know. Who cares? It's just multitudes of screens, like 1,000 screens or something, but it's boring as hell. And it's a $1.99. The best I can say about it is meh.
Yeah.
I can't drum up any kind of enthusiasm for another one of these, and this is another one of those. Did you feel anything in any way different to Nonterraqueous?
No. I thought it was a boring pick 'em up. Played loads of these before. I imagine there's mappers out there that got a massive woody at the thought of having 1,000+ screens to draw out and figure out. So they
got a Nonterraqueous.
Exactly. They got a big joystick on, to say the least.
That could be quick shot.
I actually put, check out, with its
check out my zip stick.
Check out my zip stick.
I just realised that is a horrible pun.
Yes, that's quite graphic, quite grim, really. Yeah, but yeah, so it's boring. And as you describe, you're just wandering around doing stuff over 1,000 screens, Spectrum-y graphics, nothing particularly amazing about it. They all looked kind of the same to me, the screens, kind of a maze. I lost interest in record time. That, topped off by that really bloody annoying music, was enough for me. Thankfully, it's $1.99, so if you made the terrible mistake of buying it, you've only got $1.99's worth of anger to take out on the tape box. But it got 48%. I think it's generous for what it is, but I think it's been given 48% because it's big in scope. But like a lot of these games, it doesn't matter how big you make them. If it's big, empty, boring, then and with silly death logic and stuff like that, just nah, not for me. Played many games like this now. this is almost becoming the default gamer type, or game type, sorry, for the Commodore 64. There's so many of them now that part of me feels like somebody's leaked some code somewhere and said, "Here, you know what? If you want to make a quick Swift book, even if you're making 500 quid or so, release yourself a collect 'em up, pick 'em up, whatever, over several hundred screens, because you're going to have magazine footage where people are drawing the maps and stuff like that." There's nothing about this game that's either interesting or fun or good. It's below average at best, and for $1.99, that's the only thing that's passable about it. The rest of it, even with its stupid, difficult to pronounce name, is it Nonterraqueous? What does it even mean?
I think it's Nonterraqueous.
Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything.
No one cares.
No.
It's got pretensions above its station.
Yeah, and there's some of this
which is always annoying.
Robots and psyche and thrusters and stuff. I'm going to go and play Paradroid. There's a game about robots. I'm not going to bother with this crap. So get lost.
Or Zoids.
Or Zoids. Yeah, anything that's not this.
Not this.
No, stick this in the Jerry the Germ file.
Yeah, this is going in the drawer, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's off in the back of that special Sunday best drawer. I have a feeling, and I could honestly be a case where I actually got this for a present, and it did end up going in the actual drawer. So that's a for real thing. I
hope so.
Because I seem to remember having it, but I get this and other games of this type confused so much now. But I'm pretty sure I had that the tape version of it, and I do remember putting it in the drawer for best. I'm pretty sure of it. So there it went, and it will never come out again, and probably hasn't to this day.
Never.
It's still there. No.
Probably gathering dust, which is what best thing we can say about it.
Yes.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Move on. We saw the advert last week. Now we have the excitement of FA Cup football. Graham, you're a massive football fan.
I'm really not.
That's why I gave you this one. So I wanted to, before I played it, I thought, see what you think.
This is an officially licensed football game from the English Football Association. And the idea is it's a manager game. You can lead your team to victory. You've got to start off by selecting your team and how many players will play the game, because you can play multiple players in the same league. And now the game plays out, but you basically make choices about your defensive positions of your attacking and your different things, and then the game kind of plays out the league, doesn't it? So in fact, there's a draw. Is it me? I did the draw for the team's gone forever. It's like the longest draw. It took forever. I was like bored.
It's the draw for round 3 of the FA Cup where there's 92 teams.
Exactly. You could just skip that. It went on forever. I'm like, but here's the thing with this game. Okay, so all of those due processes that happen as the draw and everything else, and then the games play and the teams play each other, and when you get that, and you can actually, I think that if I'm rightly, the games can play out in actual real time. So it can be over 90 minutes. So you can specify that you play these games in 90 minutes, and they will play out over a 90-minute period. So you can play that if you want to do that. So it has all of the trappings of that. Now, I'm not a fan of football, so this had literally no appeal for me whatsoever. No, zero. However, if you were a football fan at the time, maybe even now, there's something in it for you, I think, in this. There's something in there. Now, I'm not saying it's the greatest game experience, because essentially just watching nothing other than... But you know what? If you've got a few mates round and you're into football and into the teams that are in this game, and you know about the various different plays and the different things and doing all of the mechanics of football itself in order to manage a team, the idea of that team going up the league and yours winning and your friends losing, and a drunken evening when you've got the computer on in the background while you're chatting with your mates might be a passable way of spending an evening. I don't know. I found it a little bit boring, but I'm not a fan of football. So you're a football fan. I just thought you'd need booze and stimulants to make this exciting.
Yeah.
But that said, I don't like football. But you've rolled back the clock to you, AD, when you was a young teenager. You was well into your football, and I imagine into some of the teams that appear in this list, and maybe even some of your friends are into the teams that are in the list that you didn't like. Is there a... Because people still play fantasy football now, and it's not dissimilar to this in many ways. So, at some place it's playing out. So, I don't know. Did you go through an entire league?
Well, it's not a league, it's a cup.
Well, did you win the cup?
No, and I'll tell you why when I get to that bit sort of thing, because there's a story behind my experience with this game earlier on today when I was playing through this. So the amusing things which I noted for this game before I get into the basics. So the very first round, you do nothing but watch the draw. I picked Liverpool, but it gave me about 6 other teams as well for some strange reason. I didn't quite understand why.
Playing the odds.
I didn't care. Liverpool were the team I picked because that's the team I support. They went through. The first thing what happens is you all you can do is pick formation, can't you? Attack, defensive, or balanced.
Yes.
And so attack, balance, or defense, whatever. So I picked attack because I was at home to, I can't remember, someone rubbish, and I won like 4-0. It's like, fine. You move, all my other teams lost. I was glad. I can just focus on Liverpool. Second, once you get through to that, you then start getting half-time stuff appearing. So you have to pick your tactics again at half-time. And then you start getting weird messages come up at half-time. And at one point, I was watching the messages come up for different teams. And for... there's obviously some problem with the picking the messages because halfway through a game, the visiting team in one of the games demanded more tickets.
Random.
So it's like you can, they went, we're 45 minutes in, but we got more fans outside. We're gonna let them in. Give us more tickets. And also halfway through a game, one of the managers came down with flu.
Yeah, I think that happened to me with one of them. One of them got ill.
So it's like, how can that happen? That's quite sudden halfway through a game. So that happened. It's a really odd and basic FA Cup sim. And like you said, you just wait for these draws. Every round, you get a little bit more to do. So in the third, you get the third round, or you do pick your tactics. In the fourth round, you get to pick them again at half time. In the fifth round, I think it splits. In the fifth round, you get weird, before the game, you get these kind of weird like problems that might happen. Like your team has lost to a low league team. What do you want to do? Pick 3 options. And I have no idea if these, whatever you say, has any option. One I got, however, I don't know, it may have affected. However, in this fourth round, I was playing Crystal Palace away, and I was 2-0 down at half time, and I went all attack, and I won 4-2. And I'm not going to lie, I actually punched the air. Because
see, I knew you'd be into it. I bloody knew it.
because it's I couldn't help myself. I was like, yeah, 4-2, take that.
See,
which is stupid, but anyway, the whole thing is really odd, but it's quite dull. It is a party game, isn't it? That's what it is. It's a party game, but I don't know if it's any good or not. I don't know what it would be like playing in the 80s. If I played this, because there would be no, we've already discussed there's no stimulants, we went into them, and we're 14, so there's going to be no booze. So, to me, in 1986, this would have been switched off for a game of Exploding Fist.
Yeah.
Or even Mule.
Or maybe you'd have gone out and actually played football.
Something else that happened as well, halfway through a game, the goal nets were stolen on the eve of the match, I got told.
Does that happen? Does that happen at all?
I don't know. I got to the final, which was against Everton, and you get, don't know if you got to the final, but before the final starts, you get a rendition of Abide With Me, this little sort of graphic of Wembley in the middle. So all this sort of presentation, it's really weird. And then I got asked a question, which was my star player was asking for a transfer at the end of the season, and so I told him off and said no, and gave him a bad answer. And then we got to the final. It just started and it crashed, and it was probably down to the telling the star player off. I don't know, but it was just the whole game. I don't know what to make of this. It's boring, and it's both boring and intriguing and compulsive at the same time. It manages some weird hypnotic hold over you where 2 balls roll across the top at the beginning and random numbers appear, and then it just gives you, Tranmere versus Southampton. 68-47.
Well,
Bolton versus Grimsby. It's like, I thought you just get into it.
An interesting snapshot of...
I don't know.
I thought it's an interesting snapshot of a complicated game, which football is at its strategic heart, made into something palatable, which it kind of did what it set out to do. I mean, we've criticised games that don't. And like you said, if you find yourself playing that punch in the air, then the game works.
I know, and I hated myself for it. I was deliberately going, what are you doing? But
I like that about it, though. Do you know, it's not... When we mock the advert, because the advert is crap for this, but...
It's terrible.
At its heart, this is a game where you can play out the FA Cup and you feel a little bit of triumph if your team wins, if you get to that final without it crashing, which is a suspect. Yeah. But that's really bloody annoying. But
it was, considering I'd gone through all those draws.
Yeah, there's not much, and it takes forever that. And from a graphic point of view, from its presentation, it's okay. No, it shows
it's very simple, isn't it? There are no graphics.
Well, no, but that's what I mean. But it keeps the idea of the thing is very simple. It doesn't go for complexity. I mean, this could have been any one of those cricket games where they tried to go over complex and got it wrong completely, or it could be like Jack Charlton's Fishing, where it goes so into the reels and rods and everything else that they forgot to actually have fishing at the end of it. So I think it's got the balance.
I think if you had
an easy
8
end,
people,
perhaps as well.
If you had 8 people who were having a bit, or even 4 or 5 or however many, and you had your Commodore 64 out, and like you said, if you were 17, 18 maybe, and you put this on and you had a cheeky, whatever it was back then, a cheeky skull back in 1986.
Skull.
And you were like having a few skulls together or carling, and this was playing, and the draw was coming out, and you were just ribbing each other and going, oh, so I think there could be some fun, but is that just having fun because of that social aspect? And probably is. Like any kind of, like, you might as well just be playing cards at that point. It's just, it is one of those. I don't know if it's any good. I think it's a leveler because there's no skill.
No.
It's just, do you want to pick A, B, or C? Or this random question appears going, your team lost on Thursday. What do you want to do with them? Do you want to tell them all off? Do you want to give them extra training, or do you want to give them a couple of days holiday? Well, does it matter?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Arbitrary, really. But
yeah. And so I can see it being, in a group, you'd have a bit of a laugh, because you would still, if someone got knocked out, you would still be like, hey, you're out.
Yeah.
You would be doing that.
Yeah.
So I think in that respect, it probably works. But on your own, I don't know, started me punching the air. Because I'm an idiot.
Air punch, yeah.
I preferred it to our next game, though.
Yeah. God, yeah. Goodness me.
Because, yes, our next game, I'm not sure if we've looked at the advert for this. I think we did. And we've spoken about him in our music section as well, because our next game is the Adventures of Basildon Bond. So for those who don't know, Basildon Bond was a creation of Russ Abbott. Russ Abbott was and I'm doing quotation marks right now, comedian in the 1980s, who had a series of crazy characters that he portrayed in various, Cooperman and Blunder Woman and all these kind of nonsense. I didn't like him in particular, and I thought the creations were rubbish, sort of thing. So Basil the Bond is a knockoff James Bond, as you can tell. And in this game, you find yourself playing Basil the Bond, who is searching a TV station in search of a series of jokes that must be rearranged and rebuilt. This is a bargain basement flick screen adventure game. You run, there's some elevators, weirdly enough, that you're being attacked by roving cameras and floating faces. I'm not quite sure why. It's very brown. This really does make use of the C64 brown more than I've seen a game do it since Critical Mass, I think, was the last one I saw that was this brown. It's got really blocky sprites, really blocky.
Really blocky.
Not nice blocky like Back to the Future sprites were. They were blocky, but they were well animated and they were quite smooth and they was all right. So these are just blocking rubbish. No, this felt to me like someone had played Impossible Mission and thought, I could probably do that. Turns out you couldn't.
No, he could not.
No, I mean, and Impossible Mission at this point is 2 years old. And then we get this. This is rubbish. Zapped gave it 43%. I've no idea. This is just one of those licensing things. I felt sorry for whoever I got given the Basildon Bond license.
Yep.
It's probably the guy who did the Action Biker guy, isn't it?
Yeah. Bobby Chris Packett.
Probably Chris Packett. You've done a game based on Chris Packett's. What was the other stupid one he did as well? You've done a game based on plates.
Not on crockery.
Not on crockery. Now you can do a game based on Russ Abbott. Oh, my life is not what I thought it was going to be. You promised me Ferraris and stuff on the advert.
You promised me riches beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah, and now I'm making a game based on, all right, I'll do this nonsense. I mean, it's essentially, it's this everyone's a Wally again, and we hated it then. Just please stop making these.
Yeah.
And they'll stop licensing rubbish characters from rubbish TV shows or films and whatever. Just stop. Just, unless you've got a good idea behind these games, stop. Because they're all rubbish. All of them.
They are. I mean, I agree with everything you've said. And This, I mean, I don't know in 1986 if Russ Abbott was even still on TV. Maybe he was, I don't know. This guy made a career, this is no disrespect to him, but he made a career out of impersonating other people, really. So, and we said that before, and in this game you can actually summon Cooperman, and you can summon Blunder Woman as well.
Yeah, you can.
To try and help you deal with the robot things, I think, or the cameras, whatever they are, TV cameras, aren't they? Just lots of stupid in-jokes that make no sense. Mercifully, a 5-hour playtime only, because the game ends after 5 hours, whether you've done it or not, regardless. So you've got 5 hours of the game.
5 hours, though, of this?
I never managed 5 minutes. Utter blocky bollocks, I've put. You need to have your red, really, to even think that this is anything other than crap. I don't know how it linked to the comedy character, really, because it looked nothing like Basildon Bond in any capacity. And that, who the hell was that on the opening screen? Because it ain't Russ Abbott. I don't know who it was. It's just some random guy.
I've took a picture of it. I've took a grab of it. It's in our notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just look at it and go, who are you? You're not Russ Abbott. Yeah. And you're not Basildon Bond. Basildon Bond, by the way, for the people listening to this, he was the James Bond impersonator, but he made... As I remember it, his character basically dressed in a diver's suit for most of it, like a wetsuit.
Yeah,
and he had a diver's mask on most often than not. So it was kind of I don't really know much more about it than that. Anyway, you don't want to, really. A crap, collecty, fixie, roboty... It's the worst version of Impossible Mission known to man. Just rubbish. And for full price, again, we've seen this happen a lot. Crap license plus idiots... equals, game like this. No thanks. I'd rather keep my 10 quid and wait for a green beret or something that's actually worth 10 quid rather than this absolute monstrosity. Just crap. Utter crap. Waste of money. It's way better, cheaper. Still, Phantoms of the Asteroid. Get that for $1.99. Don't waste your money on this. It's not that you would now, because it's unless you're going to go back in time and do it, but there's nothing fun about it. And I never liked Cooperman or Blunder Woman or... which belies really the target audience for this. Who is going to buy this? Because Russ Abbott appealed to kind of over 60s, sort of, a bit of Saturday, what he would call anarchic humour. But, he had Les Dennis and Dustin G on his show way back
That's what
then.
I mean. I don't think there's a market within...
No, there isn't.
In the Commodore 64 demographic, which is, us at the time, 14, 13, 14, 15-year-old teenagers... We hated Russ Abbott. It was what your grandparents or your parents watched, and you hated anything your parents watched.
Exactly, and
that's the nature of being a teenager.
Therein lies how it ended up in the hands of younger people. It's one of those games. It's one of those. Oh, I bought you this for your birthday. Look, Adrian. It's got Basildon Bond. You like Basildon Bond? Like, no, I don't. I don't like Basil the Bond, and I don't like the way this familial relationship has just taken a very serious turn for the worse. You're closer to the falling down the stairs than you've ever been right now.
Watch yourself, Granny.
Watch yourself. If you keep buying these Sunday best games, I'm telling you, that's a precarious fall, and it's going to hurt you. All right? I'm not going to be responsible for how hard I shove you off that balcony.
They haven't got bionic hips yet.
Exactly, yeah. If you did someone say you needed a hip operation? Because if you buy me that game again, you're going to need one.
That went dark quickly.
Well, we take our birthday game purchases very seriously on this podcast. And there is no space in my life or your life. Just protecting you from the adventures of Basildon Bond in any way, shape or form. This game should have never have been released or made. The fact that it was at some point is an abomination against all reality. And that is because we know that the target market for that is exactly grannies, great aunt Petulia, who pops to see you at Christmas time, brings you an entire family a box of quality, a tin of quality streets, but you're special AD, so you get the adventures of Basil Bond. You unwrap that, but you unwrap it when you do. You know it's a game because it's that shape of a game, a tape box essentially. But you unwrap it the wrong way around. So you see the back of the tape box. You think, oh wow, is this going to be something? Is it Phantom of the Asteroid? No.
Is it Green Beret? Is it something good?
No, it's not.
Is it our next game?
Then you turn it over, and there's Russ Abbott on the front, and you think, you know what? The only thing worse than that is buying somebody the album he released. So.
The worst thing about this game is there's no atmosphere.
Exactly, which is ironic. And do you know what? If you actually play the song Atmosphere anywhere, it will suck the atmosphere from the room and kill everyone in it. Very well-known side effect of that. So that's all I'm saying about Basil the Bond. If you buy me that game, anyone, even now, or if you travel back in time and gift it to me, I will find you, and you're going to suffer great pain.
I'm going to bounce you down some stairs.
Yes, that's it. All I'm going to say is that, you know what? You're going to find me over you with a pillow, and I'm not going to stop pushing until you stop moving. It's all going to get very one flew over the cuckoo's nest, I'm afraid.
Christ.
Same.
On that note, never buy Graham Basil the Bond ever, because he has a certain set of skills, and he will find you.
Yes. Lock picking and pillow smothery, a specialism. And smother is not even a word.
It's not. But if you give him a Smippelmund, he'll calm down.
I will. Just a couple of Smippelmunds, definitely.
All right, let's move on to our last game. God's sake. And our last game, I've saved, I'd like to think, probably the best till last. But we'll see what you think. Our last game is a $2.99 gem. It is Master of Magic. Graham, Master of Magic, what do you think?
So, Master of Magic, just to set the premise, you've been kidnapped by Thelric, I think his name was, or Thelric the wizard, and put you in his world, and you've got to recover the amulet of immortality. So that's the principal idea of the game. It's really kind of a Dungeons & Dragons game. So you're exploring, and the viewpoint is really clever in this game. In fact, I'll say it now, I really, really like this a lot for loads of different reasons. So it's kind of a menu-driven game engine, so you sort of go around and select things from your menu. You've got like kind of a radar-type view where, and it illuminates where your torch is pointing because you've got kind of a torch. So you've got sort of top-down orthographic and side views of what's going on. Plus, at the bottom, you've got like a tray where the things that you encounter pick up and monsters and things appear, and there's a kind of a combat system in there as well, so you could do fire spells that you pick up, and I think he teaches you some spells. I can't remember them all, but Magic Missile is the one, and I think there's a burn one. I can't remember them all anyway, but there's a series of spells you can use to fight the creatures and things that you encounter in this dungeon that you're in. So it's essentially it's a good version of a Dungeons & Dragons game, and the game itself is the dungeon master throwing the monsters into the dungeon, and you are the person trying to navigate the dungeon and go through that. So I really liked it. I liked it back then. It was one of the mad games that I bought back then on tape. I really liked it then. I was heavily into Dungeons & Dragons, actually not heavily at that time, starting to get into Dungeons & Dragons quite a lot at that time. So by 1986, I'd already been painting miniatures for quite some time by that point. And so my inner nerd was really starting to develop a good crust by this point. So I was quite into that kind of stuff. So this really appealed to me. And the pace of the game is quite nice. It's quite fast. So when you're moving around and you're trying to navigate your way around the little passageways and find things, there's a lot to like in here. And I played this game a lot, and I mean a lot. And then later down the line, I even found another use for it, because I actually when I got an expert cartridge, my first expert cartridge, I actually hacked this game out. It was the first game that I ever cracked using my expert cartridge, and hacked it out, altered the loader, put my own loading, scrolling on it and everything else, and distributed it around the school to the schoolmates I was in. AD, you were in a sort of year different to me, but I distributed this to some people that I did. So I had, because there's a scroll message on the main screen and like a scroll text. So I had a lot of fun. I actually learned the principles of hexadecimal type text through this game, amongst many other little weird skills. So it has a real special place in my Master of Magic-y heart for this. So I really like it. The game itself is really good fun. It's really nice. Of course, it's got a great Rob Hubbard score, which really sets the tone for this perfectly as well. Classic Hubbard. Just great music at the great time with the great pace. Really good. Enough encounters with monsters and stuff to make it really enjoyable. A good old one-player game as well. In a dark room with the music playing, and just, the panic that can come from being followed, because there's some of these monsters will follow you around. They're quite relentless. And the battles that can ensue in there. I really, really like it. I liked it then, and I like it now. This is a good Dungeons & Dragons little dungeon puzzler game. Really, really good. And for $2.99, it's a bargain. Absolute bargain. It was one of the Mastertronic added dimension games on it, I think.
Yeah.
So it was, I think this is programmed by a seasoned programmer of the time. I forget, I think we discussed it before. Is it Richard Darling or?
It is Richard Darling, yes.
So it's got a good pedigree behind that as well. It's certainly the best of the eclectic ransomware crazy that we've had in this previous game, and what a relief that we had this after Basildon crap. So I really like it, and I would hazard a guess that you like this one too, because you kind of like Dungeons and Dragons as well.
I love this. I love this.
I thought you might.
I completed this back in the day. I didn't complete it this time. I got close, but I did complete it back in the day. You have to find. I couldn't find the wooden stake to kill the vampire this time. I kept getting killed, but. Yeah, this is great. It's really clever.
Yes.
It's tricky real-time Dungeons and Dragons style dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
It has antecedents for me in things like Diablo.
Yeah.
Which I think this, because the way that you I know that's a real-time and attack, but this allows you to. It feels. This is the first game I felt which felt like a Dungeons and Dragons style thing that worked in real time.
Absolutely.
And there's a bit on the docs. This is on the. I think this is out the actual tape case, but it says it's the first of a series of programs bringing together the mind-challenging book adventure and the data processing ability of the computer. New techniques create a constantly changing display of your journey through the underworld. Okay, I think it does. It's good. It's a simple premise. I mean, graphically, it's really interesting because I like that we've bookended this month, so last episode and this one, with a game that essentially sees you controlling a dot.
Yes.
So Zoids and we've got two sort of strategy games that bookend this, that are doing different things. And similar, this uses text to pick what you want to do. Zoids uses icons. They're quite similar in that respect. These two games share a lot of DNA, I think. And they both have Hubbard pieces of music which elevate them.
Yes.
I think that's it's true. There's a lot in common with these two games. Apart from the fact this is £3 and programmed by one guy, and I think it's incredible for that. There's the graphics are by someone else. I can't remember his name, but there's a lot to like in this. It's open ended. It's also one of the clever things this is the way that the game world is in the top left, and it's not terribly smooth, but you're just a dot moving around a grey area, and little, as you said, little things will just appear, little character graphics.
The illuminated touch thing I thought was really cool. I love that.
Yeah, but yes, so you actually have line of sight.
Yes.
So if there's walls in the way, you can't see what's beyond them, and you can't see what's further along because you've only got a certain amount of viewing distance. That's really clever for this time, having line of sight. So if you unless you go in a room, you don't know what's in there, and it could be a small room, but you don't know what's in there. So it's it could be an orc, there could be spiders, there could be some skeletons, there could be a vampire, there could be anything, there could be a scroll, there could be potions. All these things are there. It's prescribed, it's set out and it's laid out, so you can learn this game, and you have to learn this game, and you've got to know when to use these spells at the right time, when to attack. I think the spells, you've got magic missile, fireball, energy drain, and shield. I think maybe not shield, I can't remember. But to me, this game, in its design and in its implementation, it feels ahead of its time in a lot of ways. It's like a very forward-thinking game because it's doing things in real time, which you're not seeing from many, many other games. And it's clever in its design ethos and its way that it sort of intrigues and pulls you through. It's really simple representation of steps and doors, and its context-sensitive commands are really good. So when you can drop stuff wherever you want, and unless you're over it, you won't get the pickup command. So it's not like that sort of thing. Whether you're in front of doors, you can close doors on monsters when you're running away from them and they can't open them. So you can you catch your breath and get your bearings a bit and find a potion. There's loads to like in this. It's great. It's so atmospheric. The music is one of my favourite Hubbard pieces because it adds so much to this game. And to hear you, say that you hacked away at it is really cool sort of thing. I think that's a really good thing. I mean, I never did that, but I think that's really cool. It's just a great. This is by far and away probably my favourite Mastertronic game, and that's why I put it here at the end. I'm fed up of ending episodes on downers, and so I wanted to no, you know what? I'm probably going to hate most of these things. I'm probably going to hate Basil the Bond and that shit.
No doubt.
But hey ho, I've got Master of Magic to come at the end, and I kind of know I'm going to like that, and I do, and I still do, and I think it's even better. now I've got a bit more experience with making games and can see the sort of nuts and bolts wearing her way behind this. Yeah, great stuff. Love it. Can't say enough good things about this.
No, quite agree.
It's very clever.
Agree. Yes, absolutely. It's not to like. Like you actually nailed it right at the start there by saying there's not many great Dungeons and Dragons games generally, really. At least not the ones that really capture a good essence of it. I mean, I know Dungeons and Dragons is not a game of computers, and it is very much a game of imagination and dice rolls and all of the stuff that comes with Dungeons and Dragons, and I get all of that. But, it's not a game you can do justice to in computer format. But this manages to really capture the core parts of what makes a good dungeon crawl, whether it's Dungeons and Dragons or even in this game. What makes it interesting and exciting. And I really liked it. It's so atmospheric. And I still, even now, when I loaded it up, I was like, I remember why I like this, because it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I remember liking it when it played into exactly everything that I wanted at the time. I wanted to crawl around dungeons. I wanted to find potions and cast spells and kill monsters, and I could do all of those things in this game with relative ease as I went my way around trying to find the various items. I'm pretty sure I completed it back in the day, but
I think more than Dungeons and Dragons, I think the thing what this is, it's a real-time fighting fantasy game.
Yes, absolutely, and they're not.
I think fighting fantasy. I think fighting fantasy, the notion that you are the hero. Dungeons and Dragons was always a team-based thing, wasn't it?
Yes,
this is more obviously single. Final Fantasy is the individual, and also it says it's a book adventure, and I think that's correct. And I think the turn-based. It's kind of weird sort of thing. It's almost real-time turn-based combat, and the fact you've got to keep clicking attack, and so that feels like rolling the dice.
Yeah,
and who beat who, and for me this is just a great piece of software that I don't know whether it came out in anything else, but for this for me is looking at Richard Darling's list of games. But I really like BMX Simulator, what he did as well. But I think this is his high point for me.
Yes.
By some margin. It's just a great, clever game.
It is.
It's just really clever.
And a great game to end the podcast on, because had it been Basil the Bond, there might have been trouble. I
don't know. I'd probably been suffocated in my sleep.
I think it's a strong chance. Yeah. So it's all good now. It's all good now.
It's all good now. We've played Master of Magic, and we do like that. So, on that note, I think yes, Master of Magic. That's a good time to end. That is an excellent game, and still well worth your time. Go play it. It's ace. That's that. There you go. That's our games. So we'll move on quickly to our last couple of Crapverts. What have we got? We covered everything that was in the magazine. There's nothing we didn't cover. There's less games. Maybe there's less games coming out, or maybe it's just a bit of a dry period. I don't know. But there's only 14, and we looked at all of them. So that's what you got. Crapverts. We've got a couple more to look at. I picked this one because it's
jaunty, angular, that one, isn't it? Goodness.
Id. I picked this because of the it's a Spectrum game, but it's everything I don't like in sort of hyperbolic adverts for that period, and it's that writing down the bottom. So this is a game called Id. It's $7.95 from Newware CRL, and it says before the dawn of human history there was Id. No, id is part of our psyche, so you can't have id without human history. It is now inside your computer. No. What was id?
It's actually what is id, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You must find out. The more you teach id, the more id will trust you. You will discover more of id's awesome secrets as the trust grows, until eventually you may discover yourself. It's
meaningless
gibberish
garbage.
Nonsense.
Those lyrics by some prog band or something.
I think they're very well made.
Genesis lyrics or something, or is that Marillion's latest song or something?
It sounds to me like some pretentious little computer people.
Yeah. Before the dawn of human history, there was id. No, there wasn't. Stupid, nonsensical garbage.
Yeah.
And so it is a tangible thing. In this advert, it's a giant tangible concrete statue, so it's not like an invisible thing that smashes through glass ceilings.
Yeah, which has got the sky on it.
Well, yeah.
And then the stars behind it. I don't understand. It's quite an arresting image. I don't mind it, but I don't get it.
No.
I just don't.
Well,
I don't get what it is.
It's borrowings, but weird borrowings, isn't there? So this came out.
It's a bit 2000 AD.
It's 2000. Yeah, it is. It's 2000, 2001. There's bits.
2001. Sorry,
bit of Superman in there, bizarrely, with like the Phantom Zone. And then it's got that weird new wave writing at the top, which looks like it's been lifted off a Gary Newman album. for some reason. So it's just, it's like the image belies the writing. If they'd have just kept it to that id and just put something like a simple one-liner, something about challenge, or what is it, or something like that, or, or look out even, really, because it is going to smash your face, isn't it?
A big concrete id in the face.
I don't know, but do you know what? If we're going to get all physics on it, all right, that has smashed through that glass. That glass that's coming off there is not the amount of glass that would have come out there. There'd be more. There'd be bigger shards. So they haven't drawn enough glass, because it's hard to draw moving glass, in it, and they got bored. But they took the time to put the shadow of a bit of glass on the actual ID sort of concrete block. Bizarrely, I thought it was a little chip out of it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's a chip, I don't know. But either way, they didn't do that consistently, of course, because they wouldn't do that, and the lighting's all wrong for that.
And I don't like the white outline around id.
No, it shouldn't be there. It's meant to be if it was glowing from the light of the sky, it wouldn't be consistent, and it would be, that image would have a completely black shadow at the bottom of that id, because there's be no light at that bit. Why are we taking this apart? Because it's crap and it doesn't mean anything. But I do like the kinetic part of the image. I don't like the fact that the sky looks like a lovely peaceful sky. It would have been better if it was like not that. Anything but that. Take that broken sky glass out. Why is it even there?
Yeah, it could just be coming from the stars, couldn't it?
Yeah.
It does. Would have worked better. The square of sky and broken glass adds nothing. It just adds confusion.
It would have worked
better. It seems
better.
only there to include the Spectrum 48K logo bit.
Yes, I think so. And there's no mention of it breaking through glass anywhere in that advert, so I'm guessing that it doesn't. Crap.
No.
That's why it's a crapvert. Yeah. That's why it's there.
That's why it's a crapvert. But it is better than the next one.
I really like that, though. I don't really. What an eclectic bunch of... Is that a game called Bongo?
Yeah, that's the one I picked it for.
Do you know, I don't know what I mean. Impressed by... That's random. I don't know if I like that or Winter Events, where the graphics don't fit on the box. But they don't on the Bongo, though, do they?
You've got to zoom into that Bongo one.
Who makes a game called Bongo? Oh, goodness me. Is that Joan Collins or somebody like that?
I don't know.
Avoiding giant rats.
So this is similar to the one we had at the end of last week. This is multiple games on a single page. It's a C64. It says C64 and plus 4 comes of age. I don't think it does. Not in Bongo. So we've got 3 games. We've got Warplay, Bongo, Winter Events. I don't know. What's the sort of speedboats image?
It's best that we never discuss that random image that's there. Just says, it says Championship Series Ultimate in Sports Simulations. I'm guessing that's a sports simulation, is it? Oh no, it says at the bottom, experience the sheer exhilaration of powerboat racing.
Oh, randomly. There we go. Powerboat racing.
A awesome. Complex slalom course. Rise to the challenge of a ski jump. Why is that there? And to do with winter events? And I
don't know.
What winter events are there? And especially that is like a stormy sea. That's a tsunami that's sweeping inland. That's not a race. There's no water in it.
Winter Events is not a rip-off of Winter Games at all.
No, and it's very suspicious of graphic, though, isn't it?
I know. That Warplay, I don't like the slightly weird R in War.
Where he slipped, you mean? Where he sort of was writing when someone nudged him and went, oh, for goodness sake, you made me nudge my ass.
But clearly, the star of this advert is Bongo by Anko, which shows... So on the right of this just says Bongo at the top. There's a bot. There's like a graphic of a bot. At the top of it says Bongo, but then there's some giant rats. They're all sort of hornily looking at some woman, and I'm talking a real woman, in a long dress with. It looks like she's climbing up. She's climbing up some scaffolding or something, or a ladder.
Is that step ladder?
Step ladder. Well, these rats are 3/4 the size of this woman.
Yeah, she's tiny, or they're massive.
At the very least. Yeah, it's one or the other. But then there's some screenshots next to it, and it just looks like some rubbish platform game, and on one of which says Bongo.
Hey, don't knock that. It says there it's got 64 quality graphics and music. Is that the total amount it's got in it?
But coming soon in the champion, it says right at the bottom, coming soon in the championship series, tennis, chess, ice hockey.
It doesn't make any sense, does it? Look what it says about the war game. Choose your weapons. Choose your role. Whose Air Force will do the victory roll? Well, hopefully yours.
Whose commander will surrender?
Not yours. Why are you asking silly questions about it? If you're playing the game as in Warplay, you don't want any of those things to be, you want to win and you don't want to surrender. Aerial dogfights, tank battles, an elusive commander. Is that a thing?
What does that mean? What does an elusive commander mean?
Hard to find,
the scene is set for a thrilling contest of skill and strategy. 1 or 2 player.
Tell you what, no player. Let's not ever play that.
Not ever. It's for the CBM 64 though, so we might get to play it.
And then, so you've got Bongo, which is this... And that game, the images of the game, which is potentially a platformer by the look of what's on that screen, it does not shout woman climbing a ladder, escaping from rats. And there's only 5 skill levels and 6 screens, so it's not like it's even going to be a big old game. I suppose it is on the C16 on there, I think. And then to top it all off, winter events. Represent your country in 6-star events, in 6-star events competition. Okay. Including biathlon and bobsleigh, set against the scenic backdrop.
Hang on a minute, you missed something there. Bobsleigh is 2 words. That's a name. That's bobsleigh.
Bobsleigh. Yeah, represent your country in 6-star events competition, including biathlon and bobsleigh. Set against a beautiful scenic backdrop.
Just one. We couldn't draw any more.
Well, I don't think it's really going to have any of those things in. And there's no name for that boat game. That's just on there for no reason. It's like someone forgot about that. Oh, we didn't put the name of the boat game on it because it's meant to be, I think it's is it Championship Series? No, that's the other one. Oh, goodness.
I thought it was Powerboat Racing.
It must be.
It's all in cap.
Where is it? Where is the Powerboat Racing, though? Where's the
It says
writing?
in the text at the bottom, doesn't it?
It must be that.
Although it could be slalom course, because that is also in caps.
Yeah, and it's got the experience, the sheer exhilaration of powerboat racing. It must be that.
Then it says, rise to the challenge of a ski jump.
That's what I don't get. 3 exciting competitive events, none of which you've described that make any sense. I don't think I've ever seen powerboat racing in a Winter Olympics. I want to now, though. That's for sure.
This is a confusing advert.
Yeah, but we've come across Anko before. They're not great at this. They're not great at this.
Didn't Anko do five-a-side football?
Yes. No.
That advert wasn't great.
No, and I tell you what, to top it all off, that 8-bit wire at the top of the advert for the War Games play, the crappy blocky version of barbed wire at the top is hilarious. It's just someone just drew that with a biro. Just went, bollocks, just scribble it on with a biro. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. There you go, bloody. There's your barbed wire. Now sod off with your bloody adverts. I've had enough of you.
Oh, we've got to put Warplay over it, and now you can barely read it. But Warplay's in a different font to the one on the actual case.
Look in the background. Look in the background of winter events where you see bobsleigh, the big orange guy, and then behind him there's just a skier with one leg up in the air, and he's upside down.
I know. Do you know that bobsleigh as well? It looks like somebody who's just like that. Looks like someone's head. Just like diving out the side of the case, not a bobsleigh. Looks like someone's sort of rocket man.
Yeah, it's just not ended well, is it? It's like a giant licorice torpedo. Oh dear, good old Anko. They never fail to impress with nothing, do they? They're absolute rubbish.
Yeah, rubbish, terrible.
Rubbish.
Oh, there you go. There's your 2 crapverts. Id, incomprehensible id, and incomprehensible bongo.
Fucking bongo. Bongo. Hey, I've got a new game. Hey, do you want to come round to my house? What's it called? Bongo. No, you're all right. Thanks. I'll stick to Master of Magic.
Yeah, thanks. I'm good. There you go. Right, what was going on? Bongo.
Bongo.
What was going on in the charts? According to Commodore User in April 1986, these were the charts. Down to number 10 was Winter Games. Down to number 9 was Commando. Down to number 8 was Mercenary. Down to number 7 was Coronis Rift. Up to number 6 was Kane. Up to number 5 was Bounder.
Ooh.
New in was The Eidolon. New in was Yie-Ar Kung-Fu. Number 2, up to number 2 was Rock and Wrestle. And straight in at number 1, just like Brian Ferry, was Kung Fu Master. Brian Ferry, Kung Fu Master. That's a phrase.
I'd love to see him in that. That'd be great. That would be great.
It hit him with his floppy hair.
Just fringe attack. Yeah. Diddly diddly diddly. Slave to love. Yeah.
He would. Okay, so that's it. There you go. That's all she wrote. Games going in. What games we putting in our big old list of games that we probably should always put somewhere on the website, but we never do.
Definitely. Master of Magic. Yeah, Master goes in there.
I think Law of the West.
Yes, Law of the West, definitely. So I'd put those 2 in. Possibly Phantoms of the Asteroid for a cheapie.
Yeah, maybe not Zoids.
I didn't like Zoids, but it could be a pick for you.
Too esoteric.
Yeah,
no, I think, and certainly not Rock and Wrestle. I think if we had to put 3, I think, probably Phantom of the Asteroid. It pains me that Yie-Ar Kung-Fu is not going in there, but too problematic.
Great music, shame about the game.
Yeah, indeed. Right, what we got coming up next week? Stuff we'll be looking at next week. Alter Ego.
The classic.
It's the gold medal. Yeah, it is indeed. Ark Pandora, Captain Kidd.
Ooh.
Doctor Who and the Mines of Terror, Electroglide. Oh, I've played so much Electroglide. And classic. I knew it was crap. It's not. It's crap. But I played loads of it.
Yeah, classic.
But we've got Jeff Cape Strongman.
Oh, no.
Hocus Pocus. Not sure what else we got. Mr. Mephisto.
Fistin's getting back in there, isn't he? Fist 2, Fisto, Mr. Mephisto. Before long, it'll be Fisto's Challenge.
Probably. Sci-5.
Okay.
That trading company, another one from Accolade.
Silent
Super
Service.
Bowl. Super Bowl, Thrust, Silent Service. We may look at that because it's a
Submarine
strategy game.
simulator,
It is, Tigers in the Snow, it's Tanks, Trollbound, probably an adventure. Ultima 4 was an adventure in it.
Yeah.
There you go. So probably Alter Ego and stuff. That's quite biggie.
Yeah,
we'll
absolutely.
see how we live our lives.
Now, with Alter Ego,
1986 style.
I suppose we'll be going to play both male and female versions because you can download them. It was impossible to find the female version of Alter Ego when I had a disk drive. It was like rocking horse poop. But now, of course, thanks to the miracle of the modern internet and the interwebs giveth, you can now land that egg and stick it in your fake disk drive and play it to your heart's content. So definitely worth a plunge, that one.
Yeah, maybe. Don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we find. We'll see what we do for next episode.
Aye.
That's episodes. What's that? 25 and 26.
It is.
We will be covering the games in May 1986. Where can we find us on the internet? You can find us anywhere you type in Zapped to the Past, basically. Twitter, we are at Zapped to the. Facebook, Zapped to the Past. There's a group and a page. You can go to zappedtothepast.com. You can find and you can email us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. That's it, isn't it?
That is correct.
Instagram's Zapped to the Past
too.
as well. There's always stuff going on. We are liking and tweeting. You can come find us. If you want anything to say about this episode, if there's a game we hated you liked, or we liked and you hated, let us know. It's good to hear stuff, and we'll give it a shout out or something like that, or whatever. That's it. Quick shout out to some things we like. That's Retro Asylum. Go give them a listen.
Definitely.
Hands on Gaming. It's very good. Go listen to that. And finally, Pop Collaborate and Listen, which is always worth a listen. If you like music from the 90s, they're covering if you don't know what they are, they cover every number one album from the 1990s that was an original release. They hate most of them. You think we hate stuff?
Yeah, but they hate it with such flair and vigour. It's invigorating to listen to.
They do. Give it a listen.
I bet Brian Harvey's still crying himself to sleep over their takedown of that E17 album.
I don't know. I still don't understand how he ran himself over. He ran over his own head while eating a baked potato.
Well, if you're going to do it that way, mate.
Do it in style. Do it some more.
Do some more. Do it with a jacket potato.
Indeed. Oh, dear. Right, on that note, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
You have indeed. This has been Zapped to the Past, and we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, sights, sounds and news from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zapped 64 magazine published at the time. We will be back next week with another podcast, so do please join us. Until then, please head over to zappedtothepast.com to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in the show notes. You will also find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram under Zapped to the Past. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zapped 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe and see you next time.